Yeah, we live right now though, So, man, welcome to another episode of Holding Court. I'm your host, Victor Vincent, with Accountable Masculinity, and I got one of my co-hosts here right now, Mr. Keon, one of the, the anchors to the platform. So go ahead and say what's up, man, and talk to your people, bring them into the
What's happening?
conversation. We had a good one today, man.
What's going on, everybody out there? How you doing? Again, Keon. Follow me anywhere on any social media platform at Keon. That's Kieaun. Get it right. Also got Keon TV on YouTube. So you know what I mean, y'all. You know what I mean, y'all come check your boy out. Right now, we holding court with my man Vic. You know what I mean, my man Don coming on here in a second. And we
Yeah.
like to just talk the real. We like to talk about the real shit.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, man. I always give ourselves a round of applause, 'cause, man. I always say, man, we only get our flowers until our funerals. Yeah,
That's for
we
sure.
we gotta be appreciative of the fact that we made it back. You know what I'm saying? Every time, So, shout out to all of the people that's been helping with spreading the word. Shout out to Sydney. You know what I'm saying? Doing a everybody that's been helping with getting the message out, that see what we're doing, supporting the channel, the dialogue of men that's want better outcomes, better conversations around what makes us who we are, not just the things that we do, the things that we enjoy. um Today's show is going to be a great discussion about the dynamic of how the archetypes of men like DMX and Tupac represent such a large majority of men in their age bracket that are living the same lives without any of the fame, any of the celebration that goes with it. It's just survival mode, right? And I've always long said that after I got a little bit older, I was able to sit back and kind of like look at, well, what was the main things about our generation that went forward. I'm 46, I'm Gen X, and what we brought with us from our culture in terms of entertainment had a lot to do with the music that came from the era. The music always takes every era into the next, books of history, right? Like when you think of Vietnam, you think about the music from that era, like Clarence Creedwater, Leonard Skinner. Even when you looking at old war movies, you can hear the music that's playing with it. You kind of got a good idea what it's going to sound like, right? Then you look at the 80s, and you got a lot of cocaine disco music. You know what I'm saying? The 70s, kind of spilled over into the 80s a little bit.
Right.
The 90s had rap, and it was more conscious, and then it spilled over into um, gangster rap, in the early 90s, and how it matured with that. And then we had probably the best version of rap music, I believe, going forward, probably from maybe the 2010s to, about maybe 2017. So it was a good run. It was starting to get diluted in some other ways, of course, because anything that's popular, a lot of other people are going to start creating their own version of it. But the types of artists that we got from that era, included the groundbreaking groups like NWA, West Coast versions of rap, down south, East Coast, Midwest. It was just all over the place. It was widespread because the the message or the ability to reach people could not be understated. Because every um, particular zip code had a different story that went with it. So when I got ready to think about this topic and how I wanted to broach it, I thought that bringing Tupac and DMX would be I guess the antithesis of it all, because they're very similar in terms of uh, mental health representatives, even if they probably wouldn't say what they were a representative of, what they represent to other people is relatable. They both came from um, uh, very hard childhood, situations. Tupac being raised by, Afeni Shakur, who was a Panther, but he was told that his father was dead for over 20 years of his life, and then he found out that his dad wasn't. We know he made the song "Dear Mama," and there's a lot of psychological, labor that goes with that. And DMX, who was dropped off in a group home after his mother was abusive to him the first 7 years of his life, and then he got, laced with a blunt. You know what I'm saying? When he was before the age of 10. So he lived his life as a recovering addict out loud in front of us while having a family and dealing with his own psychological issues and producing music that we celebrated as entertainment value, but it was really his life, and his constant conflict with himself about how he came into this world and the deals he had to make with the devil, even though and both of these men made it in film too. They did great jobs on the screen, you know what I'm saying? And you knew that they had more to give and more to offer if they could balance out their demons. They both had significant run-ins with the law in public, had a lot of their privacy violated. Pac was shot. We know about him, you know what I'm saying, in separate occasions where he was shot, 5 times and survived a robbery attempt, and then after that, All Eyes on Me came out. And that was after he had been locked up for grape. I'm saying grape as you already know the other word, but
Right.
we know that the woman lied on him. Nobody believed that he actually did that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody believes that he was set up, And then especially with all the information that we know now. He stoked major rivalries and competition within the music industry. And DMX was a part of many conflicts, in the music industry with other artists that was trying to restrict him. Most notably, I believe that Jay-Z used to one of the guys that had a lot of issues that he had a lot of issues with, from things being discussed. Especially, I think Irv Gotti had a big interview about that before he passed away. So there's been a lot of traffic around the psychological archetype of these type of men, and very close in similarity, in terms of success. They're always in a debate. Somebody's always talking about DMX is better than Tupac, and some people have Tupac on a place that can't be touched.
Right.
Posthumously, their bodies of work speak for themselves. They had a ton of music. Who knows how much unreleased music, they have too. And now it's time for us to kind of like exhume their body of work and study what do they represent, truthfully. And after the music is done, because they're just human beings, in terms of what they did. They are examples of the type of era and struggles that accompany Black men, in which they never get heard. I believe most artists become artists because nobody wants to listen to them. Ironically, right?
Yeah.
And the only way you can get heard is if you lead with shock and awe, and you tell the truth, and you tell your truth, no matter how violent, inconsiderate it might sound, it's still your reality.
Right.
And it ties really back to where we are when it comes down to social media, with podcasting being a big topic of conversation, because men have decided to have conversations in the open like this, because many men have been shut up, shunned, and dismissed, same way Tupac and DMX represented. Many men have not had the opportunity to speak uninterrupted. And the first time that men get a chance to respond to whatever criticisms and critiques that they've received publicly, now they consider it a gender war.
Yeah.
and so like now this conversation is ideal to have a constructive dialogue about where are we going with this? How did we get here? And what men best represent the frustration of black men than the Tupac and DMX?
It's a good question. When you think about, when you say frustration, that is a good question, because they probably do represent, they probably are some of the best representatives of black male frustration that we've seen. You know what I mean? Because when you think about others, who made it to that scale with that level of frustration outside of those two? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe Kanye, because he has a frustration too. He just acts it out a little differently, but the similarity is still the same even with him. You know what I mean? But they definitely, Tupac and DMX definitely represents the majority of black men in black America, even modern day. If you talk about 75% of black children not growing up in nuclear family homes, then you got to understand most men relate to the frustrations of a Tupac or a DMX, which is why when you heard Tupac or you heard DMX, it resonated with you very quickly.
Yep.
You feel where I'm coming from?
For sure. And yeah.
Go ahead.
I was about to say I want to play a video, to kind of orient where we're going. So like when a lot of people may or may not know certain things, I like to treat it as though we don't all have the same information and perspective, right?
Right.
But
my childhood.
What I want to highlight, in DMX in his own words, or Tupac in his own words, as you know what I'm saying, as we have this conversation, and take what they're saying and add more depth to the topic, because one thing that always gets lost in translation, you know what I'm saying, is that people that didn't like certain folks all of a sudden want to be friends at the funeral, and like when people wanted to mention Pimp C after he had passed away, and Pimp C wasn't even cool with these folks, they just thought it was cool to mention his name. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, like keep the same energy, right? So it's best to have these clips and stuff to let these people that are the topic of discussion, that would be the topic of discussion, whether they're alive or not, speak for themselves. So let me play this real quick.
All right.
I remember a lot about my childhood. I used to get beat a lot of beatings.
Who was doing the beating?
My mother. If I did something wrong, her favorite thing was the extension cord. Well, she braided 3 of them together and would wait till I go to sleep. And she'd climb on my back, and just like beat me so much. She used to beat me till she was tired. I think that's why it's hard for me to sleep sometimes. I remember one time she beat me with the broom and knocked out like 2 teeth. I'd go to school, I couldn't sit down, but we had a rule. It was like whatever went on in the house, you keep it in the house. She would always threaten us with, the white people are gonna come take you away. You want that? You want that? And then this around and just gives me away anyway, you know what I'm saying? At 7, and I got put in institutions, You
were 7?
Yeah, the process is you go for an interview. That's what they call it. Like, oh, there's a place, we think would be good for them, and they use these words that are real vague in description. And I go in the cottage with the kids, and she leaves, and when she came back, I respect, a few hours later she came back. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to get out of here. I don't know anybody here. I'm like, and she's like, all right, see you in 3 months.
Damn.
I didn't bring a toothbrush, nothing. I had no clothes, anything. And it's like from way across the room. Like, all right, see you in 3 months. I think that's when the problem was born. Pretty much said, you know what? Everything and everybody, but it hurt. It hurt. You're saying, like, damn, you're just gonna leave me? Like, my mother don't care about me.
It's incomprehensible.
And it's like, all of y'all, and what? That's what it was. That's what it was. That's what it was. My mother, she told me, you're a piece of shit. You're just like your father. I mean, you're never gonna be. My mother told me I was gonna go to jail. No, I mean, no. My mother told me I was gonna go to jail and get fucked in my ass by the time I was 14. You know, because I was such a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Have you seen that clip before?
No, I never seen that clip.
What do you think of it?
That's fucked up, dog. I mean, pardon my French and all that, but you know, that's fucked up, and it's also very common, you know. In terms of the levels of neglect, they could be different, but that's not an uncommon story, unfortunately. Especially when he's saying, you know, the way she's speaking to him, you know what I mean? And then when he described the beatings, that just sound crazy to me. Like, you know, so
Crazy.
she wait till he fall asleep to climb on his back, so she got all her weight on him while she beating him with these 3 braided extension cords. And this is a kid. So you're looking at a grown man on that camera, still feeling deep wounds from childhood, right? You can look in his face and tell he's feeling those wounds. But people will look at you and tell you should be over it. You need to, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was a long time ago. You need to get over it. You tripping, you know. But you can see that's a grown man, very successful in life. But when he recall his childhood and those memories, it's almost like you see a kid.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's just unhealed wounds, which is what leads to a lot of the drinking, the smoking. You know, you're trying to numb yourself from some things that you probably weren't allowed to address when you know what I'm saying, when you wanted to address them or tried to address them or what have you.
Yep.
And just that level of betrayal is a motherfucker too, though. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you just dropped me off, and you know, you just dropped me off. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy right there,
bro. Look, and I don't think a lot of people knew that. I had a conversation with one of my friends today earlier, talking about this topic before I brought it up, and he brought it up from the space where he saw DMX on Ayala Van Zandt, you know, Fix My Life, right?
Right.
And people thought that, you know, he was you know, being unprofessional or whatever. Yes, presentation is what it is, right? You know. Right. But I don't think a lot of those same people knew that information that was in that clip before, taking that into consideration, you know.
Would have cared.
Yeah, they wouldn't care, you know.
I don't think they care because, I mean, again, when you look at that particular clip you just showed, what you saw was somebody in pain, but because the somebody was a black male, nobody really takes that serious. You have to think about how easy it is for people to just play with black males' lives. You know what I'm saying? Just to not even give them a father. I'm not even finna give them an example of what to be or what not to be. I'm not even finna give them nothing.
Right.
You know, that speaks to, that's a level of what they think of you as the man. You understand what I'm saying? That's so. When you look at the action, there's absolutely no way you can look at those actions and equate them to love in any capacity.
No way.
It's
not happening.
Yeah, you can. There's no way you can look at any of those actions, and that's why there's a strong attempt to stifle the conversation, because if the conversations continue to flow based on what the actions have been, then it's going to come out where it's going to make a group of people look not favorable at all.
Yeah, like for sure, because it's not a good look, because I like, because like using this as an example to talk about the father that wasn't there, right? When you argue for something, you're arguing against something.
Right.
So when you argue for the absent father that wasn't there and saying that that person is the problem, you're also saying that you're incompetent as a mother. Well, because like think about it, right? if I got a flat tire and I can't change it, and Keon's not with me for whatever reason, and I say my tire's flat, or I'm still on the side of the road because Keon's not here to change the tire, I'm in effect saying I'm incompetent at changing the tire. I'm saying I can't do it.
Right.
But if I just leave it at my tire, I'm only in this situation because Keon hasn't shown up. That's disingenuous all the way around, you know. But when women try to argue and say, I'm in this situation because of father, because his father's not here, you're saying you're incompetent. You're saying you're incapable. And that's what it is. You're a quitter. You don't have the ability to teach. And those men in this particular situation, DMX represents a parent that quit on him.
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of saw the effects of that play out the rest of his life, right?
Yep.
Similar to Tupac. You saw the effects of that beginning and that foundation play out the rest of his life. Because, you know, just like it affected DMX in the way that it affected him, it affected Tupac as always, you know, by what it appeared, he was always looking for something to follow.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? He was looking for something bigger to follow and to show him. So when you think about his story and you think about him believing that his biological father was dead all his life and then he gets shot, which is already traumatic enough. You've been betrayed by somebody who you thought was your friend, right? So you wake up in the hospital, you've been shot, right? Only to discover that you probably have been betrayed. No, you were betrayed by the person that you trusted the most.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Think about how crazy he went after that revelation.
Man, look, and that's a great segue because I want to bring up I'm gonna shift gears to Pac too. So we're gonna put a pin in DMX, okay?
All right.
And then we're gonna shift over to Pac.
Life. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you. And she got pregnant and had me. I didn't have a father.
Did you know who the father was, your biological father?
I still don't know who it is, for sure. I've never taken any blood tests. The guy who I knew was my father, who claimed to be my father, he passed away, he died.
And is that legs?
Yes, but then recently after I got shot, this other guy came, was like he was my father and he looks like me. He been in the jail to see me. His kids look like me.
Well, what was that like?
That was the bug out. I just woke up and he was standing over me. So
in jail?
When I was in the hospital.
And what did do you believe him?
I do in a way because he looks like me and his kids look like me.
Why don't you get a blood test to find out?
It's scary.
Is it pointless now?
In a way. I mean, I'm not gonna love him anymore or love him any less. So it's pointless.
Did he explain why he left?
Yeah.
What did he say?
It was personal. It wasn't, I don't want to put his word. I'll tell everything about me, but I don't want to give out his business.
That's cool. Can you tell me why you looked at legs as your father?
Because the way my mom's told me was like, he didn't even care. He was like, yo, because he slept with her around the same time. So he was like, you had a kid? She was like, yeah. He came and saw me in the bed. I had a real big head when I was a little kid. Same thing like right now. And he's like, oh, that's my son. No blood test, nothing. He was just like, that's my son. Took care of me, gave me money. But he was like a criminal too. He was a drug dealer out there doing this thing. And so he only came, bought me money, material things.
You said that you had to go through a lot of tough times on the streets and you had to suffer a lot of abuse as a child. What kind of specific abuse are you talking about?
I'm gonna write a book and tell everything.
So you're not gonna tell me?
I mean,
are we talking?
Then I wouldn't get no money for my pain. I'd rather write a book about it. Get paid for my pain.
You don't count all those #1 albums as money for your pain?
Yeah, but I want to write about it to be deeper.
All right.
Have you seen that clip before?
Yeah, I've seen that clip before.
Okay. The context hits a little bit different because of the conversation, though, right?
Oh, absolutely. You know, the way he articulated the way he articulated his versus how DMX articulated his was a little bit different. But what you saw, you know, the thread, you know, the common thread between both of them was you saw pain. You heard Pac talk about how scary it was. You heard him talk about the bug out. You understand what I'm saying? You also heard him talk about, you know, what mom slept with him at around the same time, right? So, you know, it's a few things that you can unpack from both situations. It was just, you know, it was definitely abuse. It was just, you know, carried out in different ways.
Yep. Man, the the context about his dad,
Hmm.
um, it's been circulating recently on social media, and like, so I found this clip right here too, since he's
Reaction when you heard the lyrics to Dear Mama, particularly where Tupac says, "No love for my daddy because the coward wasn't there. He passed away and I didn't cry because my anger wouldn't let me feel for a stranger."
Yeah, and I knew. At first I was upset because I'm trying to see you and, you know, but then it hit me. Well, one, I ain't dead. And so you really didn't know me, because if you would have known me, you would have known that I wasn't dead. You see what I'm saying? So I knew there that someone had lied to him from that point. And so later on, when I found out that someone did lie to him, that song made perfectly good sense. I understood it totally. So when I hear it now, I laugh. I still love the fucking record, though, baby. I love it. I love it. I do. I think it's beautiful. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I love all his music, though. I listen to his music daily, every freaking day, and I like it. And then it hits me. He's my son.
Yeah, Mr. Billy.
Yes. Yeah, bro, it's a lot of pain in artwork, in art form.
Oh, definitely. A lot of art comes from pain.
Yep.
Even
Yeah,
if
I mean,
you look at
I
some
think the
project.
most important, I think, comes from pain. You know, um,
And even, you know, you talk about people like Van Gogh, you talk about somebody like Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson, Prince. These people were all in tremendous pain as younger people. You understand what I'm saying? And it's their pain that they was busting out of to make them do and go into the directions that they did with the level of what do you call it? Tenacity
yeah,
that they you understand what I'm saying? But
yeah,
at the same time, none of them could escape the pain.
no,
You whatever that pain was, you know what I mean? Like, you know, we talk about when you're talking about people like Michael Jackson or Prince, they pain, from what I understand, came from their father. That was the source of their pain, right? But they
hmm
utilized their artistry to express where that came from. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah,
But when you talk about people like Mike Tyson, DMX, Tupac, Allen Iverson, you know, these cats all got the same kind of story at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And that's a level of pain of, you know, because you have to think, if a parent is not there, you probably question whether they even wanted you. So that's a self-worth thing, you know what I'm saying? Or you have to think about the psychological aspect. If someone is telling you that you're going to be like your father in a bad way, how does that affect the psyche of the boy? You understand what I'm saying?
yeah,
None of So when you think about abuse, and you think about growing up in balance, and you think about the effects of these things, you wonder why there's not a strong effort to discuss these type of things more. Because when you talk about your boys, you talk about your builders of a community, right? The boys are typically the builders of the community, right? So if you don't have builders enthusiastic to build, what are they going to build?
man. Look, you hit the nail on the head with that. With the boys piece, because I've always said the world runs on brotherhood.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter where you are. Like, if like I've been around, you know what I'm saying, lived in different parts of the world for extended periods of time,
Right.
and the common theme on a genetic level is that the brotherhood flourishes no matter what language, no matter what theater it's in. You know what I'm saying? Eastern European, Southwestern Asian, you know, you name it. And the men take ownership of where they are. So the community pivots off the health of the mental health of the men, you know what I'm saying, of the boys. If you look at, like, you can talk about the Taliban, Boko Haram, Al Shabaab, just some terrorist groups that I can think of right off the top of my head. They take in the young boys and they put that AK in their hand before they put shoes on their feet, boy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they teach. And that's where, if you're talking about this race of life, right? Like, they talk about race all the time, like, but they talk about it in the wrong way. You know, it's, there's always this, black and white issue when they talk about race, but they're not talking about the race of life between the races of people. And it's a reason that in this relay race, you lagging behind. You understand what I'm saying? And if you never address why you lagging behind, and I mean seriously address it. I ain't talking about scan over it and give it a you know what I mean? I ain't talking about give it a bird bath. I'm talking about actually put it in the tub, clean it out.
Yeah.
It always goes back to one thing. It's one thing that's the source of a lot of this tragedy, because that's all it is. It's a tragedy. It's an epidemic. It's not good. You know what I mean? And it's time to stop ignoring it because of what the results are. Because it's not going to end well for those who perpetuate the behavior. There's no way you're going to have a great life after you've done this level of damage.
Yeah.
So it's something that needs to be fixed, and it needs to be, it's a state of emergency in terms of the level in which it needs to be fixed. Because every generation is getting more upset and more upset. They're getting madder and madder, and they acting it out in ways that's just not good.
Yeah, and we got to be honest about that, and that
has tremendous impact, bro. Tremendous. You know what I mean? Like you hearing stories now about guys interacting physically with women in ways that are not good. You understand? And I'm talking about, just the level of attacks that you're hearing about. It's not good. All of that stems from somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, you can blame it on not being able to control your emotions, et cetera, et cetera. That has nothing to do with that. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's the reality of it. You know what I mean? If you cause tremendous pain to something may want to cause tremendous pain to you. In some shape, form, or fashion. So we can't act like this is a one-off, or there's a reason that there's not a real reason that these type of things are taking place. It's a reason for them. It's a reason we sitting there having this discussion. It's a reason that we realize that most Black boys' tragic story starts with, I grew up in a single mother home. That's the beginning of the story in most cases. You know what I mean? We was poor. We didn't have this. I didn't know who my dad. A lot of the stories that are Black and tragic in terms of the boys start right there.
Yeah, and it's a big deal.
Oh, it's
because like even when you listen, because I was processing that for a second before I spoke, because when you say the story starts there for a lot of Black boys, and when you think about Black girls, they glorify their mother. They like, my mom was there. It was just me and her. They felt like they had equity in the struggle that they was dealing with, right?
Yeah.
The boys, when you hear them say, I didn't have my dad, and their story starts there. It didn't matter what struggle that they had with their mom.
Right.
That equity does not overcome the absence of their father. So the fatherlessness part is impactful to the child, of course, right?
Yeah.
And And what's not happening is women saying, hey, I didn't do a good job of maintaining a relationship with him so he could feel like he needed to be there, because the bond between the father and the son, it is, I believe it is the mother's psychological responsibility to create that bond, because she already had the child herself. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Physically carried the child, nurtured him, and birthed the child.
Right.
The man, you know, created the child. You know, he found the vessel, but with certain with certain equity, a woman can't say I'm responsible for this child top to bottom. Yeah, because it's her body, you know.
Yeah.
Then if the father's not around, ultimately she's gonna have to take ownership of why he's not around. Now, how she chooses to take ownership of that, whether she tell the truth or not, or says that the man that I picked that was your father wasn't the best choice, or I picked wrong, or whatever. You know, that's a conversation that the women have to have, you know. But part of the reason that this conversation is so important is because the stereotype has traveled so far that women believe all men, you know, are promiscuous, have children everywhere. And even in the face of data, statistics, we're telling them, hey, most of us don't have children. You know, we're telling them, hey, the men that's raised by with their fathers are different psychologically than men raised without their fathers. So if you're getting in relationships with men without their fathers in their lives, then what's their equity in raising a child that you create with them? If their dad wasn't around, why are you choosing men? What's attracting you to men that don't have their fathers? And then what's causing you not to connect with men that do have their fathers? Because this is where I keep saying, and I say this hands down, the people from two-parent homes are more likely going to be attracted to each other.
Yeah.
The people from single-parent homes are going to be attracted to each other more likely. This is why single parents raise single parents. And then even if they try to have families because they come from that origin, you see that archetype struggle in leading a home from the emotional level, because if they didn't get the nurturing from the mother, as a man, it's going to impact what love looks like to his kids.
Yeah.
It's going to impact the level of personal responsibility that he feels is present when he's present.
Right.
You know, and if he's not at least physically there, what behavior is he modeling for his son or his daughter? It creates the expectation over and over and over again, you know. So I said all of this to say you can't replicate something that you weren't raised by.
Right.
And if you do attempt to do so, you're going to be the first version of it. And whoever you're responsible for is going to bear the brunt of your learning curve, because you've never done that before. And our generation is the first generation to really, really put everything out on the table and say, hey, you know what, man? Our parents' generation, they skipped some steps when they covered up too much. They weren't honest about some things, and we can't afford to not be honest anymore. The paper trail is too vicious to act like you didn't have all the tools you needed when you got the whole world in the palm of your hand. You know what I'm saying? You can get information from anywhere now. You got so many different tools that can edit your thinking. Yeah. So now you have to really be honest and take ownership of what makes you attracted to certain people. You can't blame it on the other person. So women have been saying my body, my choice. When I say they need to complete the sentence, your body, your choice, your fault. You know, because you can't take credit for all of the great success and not get credit for the failure for your bad decision making too, your choices, your lies, and trying to mask your shame in and the responsibility of a man that you picked. Take all of it, you know. So, and I said before, it didn't become a gender war until men had a response. So,
yeah, I mean, it's still not a gender war. Men are
it's
just,
still
yeah, men are just telling where they coming from for the first time, because you know they was even running that whole game like, well, real men don't express how they feel, or real men don't gossip, or whatever the hell they used to say. But once men start comparing notes, that's when this conversation really got interesting. You
yep,
understand? Because again, the conversation was only one way for years. So now they hollering, you know, take their podcast equipment away from them because they scared. They are terrified, you know, because the more you when they look up, it's more and more of us speaking. And see,
Mm,
experience is the best teacher. So the lie cannot last much longer because it's so many bricks from the wall of lies being knocked down.
mhm.
And so from Brooklyn to Oakland, you have you have black men saying the same thing. You have them talking about the same thing, but if you notice, nobody's listening. The people that they're talking to are not listening. Now, when you talked about that connection from the father and son is a very, very important connection, because a father doesn't just teach you what to do. Your father could do things that you learn not to do as well. It's like, okay, I don't want to do that. So you don't just learn what to do from a parent. You learn what you don't want to do from them as well. But if you have absolutely no clue,
Yeah,
uh, you're lost as hell as a person. So if it's, you know, what, like when you think about other communities, there are communities of young men at 13 that the entire family comes together to celebrate their manhood and teach them what it's about and show them which way to go. And now this young man goes off into a corner with a bunch of other men from his family. They give him game and teach him this and tell him what to do, what not to do, how he's supposed to conduct himself, what they expect of him, et cetera, right? And then you have this group of
yeah,
men who none of that. You know, he had his mom and his grandmother was his father. You know, that's not a good look right there. You know, it's going to be hard to jump in the ring and clash with the warriors that were taught by other warriors and your grandmas who was teaching you how to defend yourself, right? So you might be a little lost in this world in terms of how to even approach situations because you were never even taught to how to approach a situation. You
right.
feel what you probably should have been approaching a situation from a much more rigid standpoint, but you approached it with the eyes of your mother. And, you know, you might have got caught off guard with some things because you didn't know how to approach it. So when you think about the level of game and see, manhood ain't something you can explain. You feel
No,
me? It's hard enough for a man to turn a boy into a man. That's a hard job in itself.
yeah,
You understand?
man,
That's a difficult job for a man to do. And that's a man. He relate to it, right? So what are the possibilities of women really raising successful men that are not frustrated? And you know, just by all appearances, it's looking like what they trying to do is just erase the nature of man, which is impossible, right? The nature of the thing is the nature of the thing. How you gonna get mad at a dog for barking? You feel what I'm saying? You can't get
yeah,
dog. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
it's just like when you're dealing with women. Women have characteristics that you know you don't get mad at them. You just understand that yeah, she just being a woman.
yep,
You feel me? And you keep it moving, right? But it's like you know, it's like it's been this big plan. Okay, we'll keep them away from the men, and then we'll teach them our way of what we want them to be, and we'll erase this part of them. And it's like that's not gonna happen. You know, all you're gonna do is raise up a bunch of resentment. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna short circuit something out because you're not utilizing it for the way it's supposed to be used.
you
You know,
put feminine software in a man that might be 6'4", 260 pounds, and thinking that what's the worst that could happen? You know?
yeah, because now you got to because see back in the day, man, when we was growing up, they used to tell us that's a girl. You don't hit girls like that. You know what I mean? You leave girls alone. You don't play with them so rough, et cetera, et cetera. It was men who taught us that. You know, If she put her hands on you, it didn't hurt you that bad. Just walk away.
Walk away.
You know what I'm saying? It's men who taught you that. That's not what's being taught now. You know what I'm saying? You walking around telling these big dangerous people who can hurt you when they get upset to go with their feelings. That's not the smartest thing to do, right? You're not even equipping them to walk out here in the world and operate from the perspective in which they're supposed to be operating, which is why you see so many struggling. And I'm talking about from California to Brooklyn. You feel me? They struggling if they grew up in this particular kind of way, and you see the frustration and you see them acting out the frustration. You feel me? So the war, they are talking about a war, but they're talking about the wrong war. You're talking about the war you should be discussing is the war he's having with himself.
With it, man, look, I wrote something a couple years ago. I'm gonna say that a lot because I've been writing about this for so long.
Yeah. I mean,
the war within all men is within the war with all men is within themselves.
Yeah.
And even then, that's why, like, the nature of our conversation and our connection via social media to where we are right now, it happened very quickly, you know, because men submit to higher information.
Yeah.
If the information makes sense, then we're gonna work with the person that's got the information. It ain't a characteristics pissing contest over here. You know what I'm saying? And one thing that I said that I set out to do with my platform was, once I reach the end of what I can explain, then I need to look for people that can explain it better than me.
I feel you.
And one thing I never wanted to do was create competition between men about who had a daddy and who didn't.
Yeah, I think that's a corny. I see that happen sometimes too.
And it happens that way.
Why would you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't understand it, but people do it.
And I did frame my approach around that, you know what I'm saying, just to provoke the conversation so I can bring them closer to me. Right. You know, so they can hear what I have to say, because I care more about their experience than they think. Right. Because I know ain't nobody heard you. I know ain't nobody listened to me.
Right.
You know, like, but I had to reconcile that with myself, because why don't people listen to you, right? It's because they don't care, and they don't have to care. So exactly. You have to accept that they don't have to care. You know what I'm saying? So now
there's something that comes with that, though, once you realize they don't care.
Exactly.
You don't care about them. And now it's a question of who can not give a fuck the best.
Exactly. So that was the next space, right? So my thing was, okay, let me bring the guys that have this firsthand experience, like Tupac and DMX, in terms of being raised in similar way. Give them the platform and let them talk.
Right.
The women need to hear the type of men that they raise. They need to hear it from them. Like, we wouldn't want white people telling black people where black people are going wrong.
Exactly. But I mean,
no other ethnic group wants to hear somebody else that's outside of their demographic telling them what they're not doing. So as a man that's been raised with his father in a two-parent home, it's not my place to tell you the way that you was raised. Like, I'm not the expert on that. You know what I'm saying? And it's, to some degree, at some point, it is going to be condescending and disrespectful. So that's the intent. For those people that's watching, hey, appreciate the people in the YouTube chat that's coming online and joining the conversation, and people that's on Facebook too. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like if you like what's going on right now. And I might have to run some of those videos back since we got some people that's watching now, you know. But for those of you that's joining the conversation, we're talking about the two archetypes between Tupac and DMX, been raised similarly, you know, in terms of their connections with their mothers, but both experiencing life without being without a father being present in their lives, and how much equity that that those men had on their life, even in absence, and what caused their absence. So the don't ask, not don't ask, I'm sorry. The your body, your choice, and your fault part of the conversation goes along with these men, how it created the genre of music, well, how they immersed themselves in the genre of music that was gangster rap, and how the gangster rap genre came to be because of a lack of therapy, for black men. So there's been an outlet, it's been an expression, and it's been criticized and damned. But part of the reason is that every form of communication that a man has had to express himself, especially if he's black, has been criticized, and nobody's ever tried to understand anything but the performance. The other part of it is that the podcast current conversation amongst black men across social media has been framed the same way. They're already trying to shut it down. I was saying take the mics away. And really, the podcast culture is a lot like being a rapper. You cultivate your own audience. You come out with a message with the people that support it, and you retain your audience based on what's real and what's not. And the people that don't like you, they either don't support you or whatever, but you keep saying the same thing. You keep recycling your message. This is the music to your soul. This is the way that people's psychological imprints work. And if it makes sense, you gravitate towards it, you ingest it, and you apply it. If it doesn't fit, then you need to move around, But because what's happened at this point is that black men's voices have only been appreciated when it was talking about something that was rooted in entertainment. Because to the point that Keon was making before, the women that have tried to control black men since they were boys, they're more likely, they're more willing to turn their sons into princesses than to let them grow up to become men. And to that point, women have only been able to appreciate black men unless they have on a dress. So there's a whole subculture of black men that should be the mainstream that are only there because they're not talking. And they think that that's protection, but actually it does you a disservice because it lets somebody else control your narrative. That's what this podcast is about. This is life beyond the algorithm, because it's not just what you see on social media. This is where men have compared notes, and now we're having a discussion about this topic. So appreciate you guys coming in, and Keon, I appreciate what you've been adding to the conversation, man, because we need more men like you that have had the regular black man experience to talk about what it is like to try to navigate the world based on the way that you were raised. And because everybody ain't gonna be a rapper, everybody's not gonna be an entertainer,
Yeah. I mean, you typically gonna go for being an entertainer, a rapper, basketball player, because they guaranteed to get heard where we from.
Yeah.
You understand? They guaranteed to get a look where we from. They gonna get a look before the doctor, the lawyer. You know what I'm saying? They just finna get a look. So you typically gonna gravitate towards something like that, especially if you're good at something like that, which ain't no problem with it, right? But that's your foundation as a people. You know what I mean? If that's the foundation as a people, you just basically court gestures. You know what I'm saying? You ain't take serious if that's your foundation as a people. So I think the entertainment has been affected by the imbalance of the home myself. When you think about where rap started and how it has progressed, all of it has been affected. Even basketball, dog, it's all been affected by the imbalanced home. You used to see much more competitive basketball games. You don't see that no more. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. You telling the truth, man. Like
keeping it 100. You used to see, rap was even more, everything was more competitive, everything. And then, we got off into this participation trophy world, right? You know what I'm saying? But It was much better when things were competitive. It was much better. When you're talking about and again, we only using Tupac and DMX because we understand everybody can relate to Tupac and DMX. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at how their life played out, it wasn't just Grammy Awards and goddamn movies. It was some, when those planes crashed, they crashed pretty fucking hard.
Yeah.
You understand? But when those lights went out, those lights went. Even when you look at somebody like Kanye, you feel what I'm saying? You look at somebody like Kanye and how that it's something that just go. I don't know what it is, but it's like you reach a point as a man to where it's like, wait a minute. You understand what I'm saying? So, and then you didn't really see where neither one of them was ever just smiling, where they was enjoying life. You never saw that. You know what I mean? They was just doing what they had to do.
Yeah, it was work.
It was
work to them.
They trying to get out to make better lives for themselves, and then you can see that affects how you interact with women. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It affects how you interact with women.
Yep, it definitely does.
Yeah, it's definitely how you deal with women.
Yep. Like speak on that, right? How have your interactions with women been over a period of your life, with that type of upbringing?
It could have been a lot better.
What do you think that if you could make one adjustment, right, or name the adjustments that you would make?
Well, I mean, one of the things when I look back on it, I didn't come into the whole situation with a trust and thought process. You understand what I'm saying? I've had women tell me, you ain't got nothing for a woman. I've had women tell me, the only time I actually feel your energy is when we having sex. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, and to be honest with you, when she said it, I felt her. I understood. Because I probably wasn't open. Because again, if you walk into a situation and you just absolutely do not trust it, you probably not finna walk into a situation open. You understand what I'm saying? And then you've never seen the interaction between one man and one woman. So it's just a game of fucking musical chairs right off the bat. You don't even know nothing about one man and one woman interacting under the same roof. It's all changeable to you. So it's like you're not even getting close enough for it to really matter. You feel what I'm saying? So sometimes just like, shit, I don't even know how to do that shit. So I think a lot of the relationships don't go well these days is because you just have people who have an idea of what the damn relationship is supposed to be. They have no clue of what it really is because they ain't never seen it. That's on the man and the woman side.
Yeah.
You feel me? They just got ideas. So imagine you got two people who've never seen it. They just sitting at the table with ideas. No, neither one of them fucking know. So they just trying. So when it comes to that, it's like you can't really blame them. Nobody ever gave them an example of what it is. If you look at the level of promiscuity, they were given that lifestyle. They didn't come into no sexual discipline and, you know what I mean, self-respect and none of that shit. They came into a very promiscuous world, period. Both of them, the men and the women. That's why they look around. So if you think that shit don't affect, like it affect women too. If like women ain't got a dad, that's supposed to be the first guy that she gets the foundation of what love is, right? So she's fortunate enough, she ain't have a father. Her first goddamn interaction with somebody trying to trick her out of her ass. She knows nothing about a man just loving her, just to love her. Everything her ass, because the first man she ever really, it could have even been an uncle in the family or somebody, you know what I mean? Because nothing around was to protect her. So when you think about just the landscape, everything you seeing makes sense, fam. But the way that the conversation is being formatted is very untrue.
So that was real dope, because we haven't even had that particular conversation. I've talked about it, like in terms of like when we was getting acquainted with each other to figure out if we can work together, right, and how we would, and establishing that baseline frequency. And I'm glad that we didn't get the full conversation that you just gave us until now, because I'm hearing the same thing that I've been saying. So so now I get to listen,
Right. But
I would say
right? If you really think about it and you just sit and think about it on the most, basic level, it's just common sense.
It's common sense. It absolutely is.
You know,
But the whole point is that all of this friction,
uh-huh.
this discontent that's happened on social media with men having a conversation like this about the equity that women have on the psychological imprint of a man and his relationship choices and how his relationships go, that's just been seen as, oh, that's just misogyny. That's just,
Of course, because if you name it else, then you have to take responsibility for it. So you got to make me responsible for it. You got to say I'm the bad person because I was born into this environment and I act this particular way, But you grew up in a space where they telling you're gonna have a lot of girlfriends when you grow up. These are grown women from your community telling you this shit. You're 6. What else are you to believe?
You got to have a bunch of girlfriends. That's it.
You believe that your job is to have. And let me tell you, the first chick I ever kicked it with, right? I was 19. She was 27. She sat me in the car. You know what the first thing she fucking told me when she sat me in the car?
What'd she tell you?
She said, a woman will give you whatever you want. You one of them ones. But you got to know that it's bigger than just your dick. This is what she told. This is her first conversation when me and her link up after we done got the number and the whole 9. This is the first conversation she has with me. I'm 19. She 27. So imagine a 19-year-old, right? First of all, you sitting with a 27-year-old. She coming to get you in her car. She drive. This is fucking your ego up, dog. You understand? Go is somewhere else because you're 19. So if you can conquer this girl who's 27, imagine what you finna do to the next 19-year-old. And because you lack sexual discipline, you're reckless with this energy. You feel what I'm saying? You're supposed to be more responsible with this energy. You don't even understand what your seed is. All you know is they like me. I seen some porn coming up. Let me do what I seen on the porns. That's pretty much how it goes because you're not from a sexually disciplined environment. You're not even being taught. They're not even speaking to you about that. So it's like you wound this. I feel like you just wound this goddamn thing up and just sent it out in society.
With basic primitive understanding. Yeah.
You got boys and you got girls who have no sexual discipline. They just know if they like each other. They can jump. We can hop into bed and we can do the most basic thing. It takes zero intellect to do that. Nothing.
Facts.
But
Facts.
the results of that, now that takes intellect. That takes patience. That takes endurance. If you have children as a result of something like that, now is where your intellect comes in, your intelligence, your education, your patience, your endurance, all of that. That's when it comes in. To have sex with somebody that's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, straight animals have sex with each other.
Animals it's some animalistic shit, right? So when you hear somebody like, okay, granted, it's different when you hear a man bragging about how much sex he can have as a woman, because hell, even a woman who's a 3 can walk outside and just have sex with somebody. Easy.
Bro, 600-pound life, them women on them shows be in relationships.
If women know nothing else, they should know a man gonna hit something. I'm sorry. So that don't really say nothing about where you stand with him. You understand? The reason I say it's different for men because the art of getting sex for a man is just totally different. You feel what I'm saying? He got to have some game. He got to be able to do something. You feel?
Gotta have some charisma. You gotta have some people skills.
So if you got like, and then women are very choosy. Well, they used to be. They more choosy than men are, right?
Right.
So if you got a bunch of choosy people saying you the one, then of course that's gonna be a little bit different, right? But at the end of the day, the whole sexual interaction is a responsibility that's supposed to come along with it, and it used to be more self-respect in both people. You understand what I'm saying? Like, now it's like a free fall. It's like one big, orgy. Yep. That's all the game is, a game of adult musical chairs, fam. So think about if I was on tour and I was on MTV every day and I had the #1 record in the country. So now you talk about how Tupac ran into the the SA situation that he ran into that landed him up in Clinton Corrections, right?
Yeah.
That's about lack of sexual discipline. You feel what I'm saying? Even DMX, would he have 16 kids, 13 kids?
Something like that.
Lack of sexual discipline, right? So, and then when you think about their financial state at the time that they left, neither one of them were as profitable as they should have been had they been more disciplined in every aspect of life. And typically what teaches that discipline is a father.
Yep. Man, look, that right there is like everything that I've been writing for last couple years on social media has created these, you know what I'm saying, these conversations is what you just said in like maybe like the last 4 minutes, you know. Shoot, even in the first hour of this, man, you know, it's been great because we haven't even got to the PowerPoint.
Right.
You know, and this is like firsthand experience, and then, you know, like then looking at the interactions from the chat too, you know. So let me bring up my boy Troy because appreciate him. He said Pop did talk about women not checking for him until they knew who he was. Yeah,
exactly.
You know?
I remember him saying he
Yep.
realized when Juice came out that women make themselves like you. You feel what I'm saying? But again, that goes back to the athlete entertainer thing. He's on the movie screen now. Now I can treat you like you somebody. Because before you were that person, I treated you like you were nobody because I've been trained to treat you like you're nobody unless you're one of those people, right? So you can't even feel like you something you typically can't even feel like you a person as a young black boy because that's how the community gonna treat you. They already telling you your daddy ain't shit. And then you're in an environment where it's full of females. You understand what I'm saying?
You know, to that point, right? I was pausing and thinking, I believe that at the root of simp culture is about being seen and accepted and heard, right?
Exactly.
And a lot of men will perform for that attention from women until they get acknowledged by the right woman, and women do the same thing to get attention from the right man, and be the envy of the competitive girls that she's trying to separate herself from. You know what I'm saying? This is why I say pick me's and simps are the same performance. You know what I'm saying? And at its root of it, neither one of them are getting acknowledged by the one woman that makes sense to get acknowledged by their mother.
Well, yeah, but that's a problem in itself too, right? Like, you know, what is everybody looking for fucking validation for? That means you're not validated, you're not being respected, you're not being built up, you're not, you know what I mean? That's why you grown on Instagram looking for validation from people. You understand? Because you didn't get it. You feel what I'm saying? Because again, it was an imbalanced upbringing. So you're missing stuff within yourself, right? I never forget. I didn't grow until I realized I don't need validation from no goddamn body. You know what I mean? Man stand on his own goddamn too. If it's him and a million people who disagree, he still stand on what he stand on, right? If you somewhere looking for validation all the time, and you see males do it all the time. They want this car because they're looking for a certain kind of validation. I need to be doing this, saying this, listening to this. So it's like you said, it's performing, right? If you always performing, G, that means you ain't never in touch with yourself. At what point are you ever working on you to even have good mental health? You always working on your alter ego. You ain't even taking care of yourself. You feel me? You always working on the image you want us to buy into that nobody believes.
Nobody believes.
That's why the authenticity is so magnetic, because when people see it, they just gravitate toward it because it's authentic. Even if it's fucked up, the fact that it's authentic, it don't have to be perfect. People just like the fact that it's real. I can touch this. I can relate to this. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why when we were talking about doing this, I wanted to make it clear. I'm not in this to attempt to be malicious or hurtful or none of that, right? But I also understand that my stances is probably going to get me described as toxic, You know, I'm probably gonna be, you know, what they call it, the patriarchy, you know, all of that goofy
Yeah,
shit.
whatever.
At the end of the day, the truth don't fold for nobody.
No.
You understand? The truth gonna hurt your goddamn feeling. You know you've been lying. You know damn well you've been lying, which is why you won't take that damn podcast equipment away from us. Because you know you've been lying. And another thing, the whole my body, my choice thing. If you say it's his fault, you can't say it's my body, my choice. You got to either say he's in charge of me or I'm in charge of me. It's one of the two. It can't be my body, my choice, his fault. It can't be that. If it's indeed your body, your choice, it's your consequence as well. Now, this is where the simping come in. Playing cleanup man like we do in the Black community. You know, believing that there's not a difference between playing, you know, you got your own woman with your own children, or you can come in and help take care of this guy's kids, right? All of that came from the same place, fam. It's under the same teaching. So you have one voice speaking for the entire community. You have one narrator speaking for the entire community until just recently. She was speaking for herself. She was speaking for the men, and she's speaking for the children, right?
Right.
But if indeed you had her speaking for herself, the man speaking for him, and the child able to speak for them, because the child gonna get their ass kicked if they ever tell the truth. That's why she need them under her gut so she can, you know. But if you had those three telling the stories, you're gonna get a whole different goddamn kind of conversation, which is why they don't want us to speak, because if we speak, then the children might decide to start to speak.
Because the children want to speak by default.
The kids have something to say.
They sure do.
They can't say it because they probably live with the one parent who's perpetuating a lot of they probably haven't even been able to comb through it. They don't have enough wisdom to even understand what they're going through. They can't articulate what they're really dealing with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have their defense. The defense typically is the father, even if he has to defend the child against the mom. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? The father is there to keep order and maintain order. And you know what I'm saying? That's what he's supposed to do, which is why it's not good if he's incapable of doing that. But a lot of the times when you hear about those men who are incapable of doing that, what kind of homes did he?
Yeah, why can't he articulate his feelings?
Yeah, exactly. Why is it that? Why is he struggling? You do his background check. He typically came from a single mother home too. So you talking about something that's been affected. Like they're gonna blame it on rap music. They're gonna blame it on the school system. They're gonna blame it on the man that they met Friday night, they had sex with, got pregnant by, and had his baby and didn't really know him. They're gonna blame it on everything but what it is, and that's just irresponsibility. You're moving wrong. You're fucked up. And yo, somebody just said the kids are saying it now.
Shout out to my man Cabby. Yep, yeah, we was.
But the kids saying it is scary.
Yes, because they're saying it long before it makes it, you know, like far.
They ain't got shit, though. What they got?
They got nothing to lie about.
They got nothing to lose, nothing to lie about. So, and they want something. You know, motherfucker tired of growing up. You know, every generation you got to start off. I ain't had no daddy. This is 6th generation. Come on, man. You ain't fixed that piece yet.
Come on, man.
How the fuck is that still a problem? This long, you know what I'm saying? And then you can't. Oh, it was slavery. We survived slavery. We stayed married through slavery. You know, in the 1950s, we were leading this country in terms of nuclear families, right? That's why. I guess it was a week ago. I told you. Feminism was worse than the crack epidemic, fam. Black feminism, ain't got shit on black feminism.
Watch this for a second and put a pause right there.
All right.
Sitting in the car playing with her young son in the wrong way. Now this TikTok, okay? So y'all gonna have to work with me. Go watch the video, then come back and tell me what y'all think. It's in my repost.
You said you're hungry? Okay, let's go get something to eat.
Oh.
What do you mean? Why you trying to take my pants off? Stop, man. Stop. I haven't even took a shower yet. What you mean you don't care if it's musty?
But I don't know what's going on. Because now I'm seeing on TikTok, it's a lot. I'm surprised the video is still up. You seeing people roll up. You seeing people showing, even if it ain't up for a second, to show pumes, all the above. About a year ago, TikTok didn't play that. You couldn't even show a bottle of wine on here. Nothing, none of that. So something is definitely different. I can't believe this video is even up. And people taking up saying, oh, she just playing. Real mothers would never play with their children like that. Grown, young, I don't care. It's nowhere in the world. You ask that child, do he want something to eat, and something about you being musty down there and all the above. Y'all, this is wrong. This is wrong. I don't know where her mother at. I don't know why is she so just into this and into that. Because you go down her page, baby, she, you know, look, this TikTok. All right, I'm trying to tell y'all with so many words. You're going to have to go watch the video yourself. But I'm telling you, real mothers don't do that. And she shouldn't be playing with her son like that. Enough is enough. And I'm tired of seeing things that's just not right on this app. And TikTok still got the video up. Hugs and love. Y'all be blessed, J-Lo. Mwah.
Bro.
Yeah.
It's so much so many female predators out here that's got sons that they would rather exploit than to create better situations for them to learn from. And people always talk about black men being hypersexual. That is a negative stigma associated with black men that goes all the way back to the beginning of time, to creating a fear complex and a narrative that black men are sexually violent and, you know, untrustworthy, whatever, and they coming to take all of our women. Back to even in the first film when they had Birth of a Nation in the 1900s version, where they had a white man painted black and stealing the white women. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's always been this desire to make black men the boogeyman from top to bottom, and then black women later on will complain about black men being hypersexual. Meanwhile, the black women are raising these hypersexual men. So you can't have a conversation about hypersexual men being a problem without thinking about the hypersexual women that raise them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's just more blame shifting, right?
Yep.
How in the hell is it that the father, who probably made no decisions on the kid's life, responsible for how the kid acts? Now, you can say that the kid is missing discipline because he didn't have a father. The kid may not know how to respect because he don't have a father. The kid may not be able to properly regulate the emotions. But what you impute in that kid comes directly from whoever that kid is around. Now, I can tell you firsthand, it ain't nothing that I'm proud of, but I touched my first hairy twat at about 9 years old. I was with a babysitter. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, when an experience like that takes place, you don't really know how to process it. You just know it happened. You don't know if it's good or bad. You don't know what the hell it is, right?
Yeah.
But that puts you on the fast track, right? So if that could happen to me at 9, that means I wasn't protected. Somebody didn't have their eyes on me. That's a fail. You feel me? So now that I have a son, dog, I don't play. You understand what I'm saying? I'm on them every day. Did somebody touch you or something? You know what I mean? Every day. Because I understand what my presence in his life is. Just my presence is going to make you deal with him differently. If you see me showing up to the schools, if I'm talking, you know what I'm saying? All of that is going to make your interaction with him totally different, right? But when you talk about hypersexual young men, the hypersexual young man is exactly who the majority of the women gravitate toward, because that's what they taught. Imagine her in a sexually disciplined situation. Let's keep it 100.
Come
right?
on.
When you see a sister that comes from the upbringings that we're talking about, and you put her with a husband, you just put her in structure. How does
Come on.
she ain't used to no structure? So eventually she gonna start describing it like a prison, like slavery, like it's controlling, because she ain't never had nobody who cared about her to give her any structure. So she's misunderstanding what that is. It's just like if you say, baby, where you going? And she gonna take that like you trying to tell her where she can go and what she can do. And that's a form of protection. But because she has no understanding of what true protection is, she don't know what real provision is. I can give you game and I just provided for you. I just taught you something. You feel me? Provision is not just monetary. You understand what I'm saying? Protection is just not physical. Information can protect you. You understand what I'm saying? So if you got this woman who not trusting what you saying, right? Y'all walking up the street at night and you say, go left. And she looking up, talking about what you talking about? Go left. Ooh, this, whatever you was trying to prevent from happening has already taken place, because she didn't go left. It was time to go left. That's how she need to be in sync with you. It's no different than when she goes to work. She's just handed her assignment. She don't know the company whole fucking objective for the year. She has no idea what the company's trying to do in the next 5 years, 10 years. She gets her assignment for the day and she goes to do it. So you need that same cooperation, because when you really think about how talented the sisters are, if you had the level of dedication to your family that she gives to her job, motherfucker, couldn't nobody in the world fuck with y'all.
Nope.
People here in America. If you just had that level of dedication for the family. However, with the mind games that's been played, because at the end of the day, it's no different than the Adam and Eve story. You throw them off track with the trickery, right? You know what I mean? You give them some sweet words and you can send them on to the left. Think about it. You give some information out. A woman will tell you, well, it's not what he said, it's how he said it. That shit really means something to them, bro. You know what I mean? And as men, because we communicate so harshly, we just, man, fuck that. That don't mean nothing. Oh no, to them it means something. You understand what I'm saying? So, and especially because they didn't grow up in a home with fathers, so they don't know nothing about that brash conversation, that stern demeanor of a man.
They don't know how to balance the two. They can't accept
she's
that.
misreading it.
Yeah, they misplace the energy from it, even though we're trying to correct.
Yeah, she don't understand.
They don't know what that is. They think that's control.
No idea what that is. So you got to give her a little bit of room to not understand. But also the reason she don't understand is she don't even understand why she don't understand. It took me time to realize, damn, they probably didn't tell you the real story, bro. You understand what I'm saying? And once you realize the real story, think about it. You believe somebody to be one thing, and then you one day get up and discover that's a totally different person. If a woman is married to a man and 10 years after she married him, she found out he's a serial deleter, she don't know that dude. She gonna be because she gonna feel like, who have I been laying with? It's the same thing, bro. It's the same thing. It's just a matter of who doing it, right? So when you think about, like we talking about Tupac and DMX, think about the level of greatness that they both achieved, but they could never balance themselves out to really enjoy it.
Nope, because the only place they ever felt safe was in the studio, on the mic,
exactly.
And lyrics, you know, and they go where they feel safe at. You know what I'm saying? Human beings take the path of least resistance, and some people make it look easy. Yeah. Some people make it look exciting. That's the thing about men, right? The stuff that men do that some people may be whining and bitching and complaining about online. Even if you don't do that, you understand where that man is coming from. You know what I'm saying? Because
universal, you know, men are universal. That's why when you said the world runs on brotherhood, it's real. Because even if I went to Iran right now, I don't really know anybody named in Iran, right?
Yeah,
I speak the lingo. What they're gonna read about me is my character and my integrity and my energy.
Yep.
Feel what I'm saying? My level of humility. That's gonna make them determine whether they're gonna fuck with me or not. You understand? Yep. That's what's universal. I done been from Compton to Brooklyn. I don't remember ever being deep when I went to none of these places, but I never had no trouble in none of these places either, because when I approached it, I didn't approach it like on no rah-rah shit. You approach it from a man's, you know what I mean? Men are pretty universal. They can go anywhere. A street food is limited to where they can go.
Oh, absolutely.
And see, another thing that you seeing, you seeing a level of arrested development that nobody's really addressing as well. You understand? How does a hip hop artist be 50? How do they look at 50, right? It's only a few of them that really got it together. Like Jay-Z does it pretty well. Nas does it really well.
Malice, as of recent, the Clips in general, they doing it really well right now.
The rest of them, it's like they trying to be like the kids. That means you lost your way. You supposed to be showing them the direction to go. So you see where the lack of development is happening in every aspect, in every area, and everybody trying to scratch their head, acting like they don't know what the hell it is. It's a missing ingredient. You feel what I'm saying?
Jim Jones, a prime example of that. You know,
they call it oldest YN.
Yeah.
Goddamn. Like, at the level that he on, he's supposed to be doing the same thing that even Cam and Mace do it pretty well now. You can see a level of growth in these guys, and that's what you're supposed to see. But you can see where 50 Cent struggles in that area sometimes. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. You can see it's so many examples. Like, it's crazy to see 50-year-old dudes beefing.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't settled this shit yet. This shit started when y'all was in y'all 20s. Y'all ain't decided to leave this shit alone, or you know what I'm saying, or just go get in a boxing ring or something. Because at the end of the day, you look kind of crazy at 50 anything beefing. We get it when you 21 or something beefing. We get that. You know what I'm saying? I can understand why NBA YoungBoy would act out the way he acts out. NBA YoungBoy is young. When you hear his story,
NBA YoungBoy.
He young. His life was not fun. You know what I'm saying? Same sort. Grandma raised him. He angry about some things. You feel me? And it's a lot of him around. So that's how you get your King Vons. That's how, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of that going on, right? But there's a reason that this is happening, and nobody's addressing the reason. That's why we have to address it, because we understand nobody's gonna address it. The mainstream media not gonna address it. The perpetuators of the behavior is not gonna address it. So those who grew up in it have to grow to address it. You understand what I'm saying? Unfortunately, because it births a lot of simps in the situation, it's a lot of men who already know, but they ain't got the cojones to address it. They scared somebody not gonna like them. You feel me? Not realizing when you're a man, you always gonna get a woman because you a man. You gonna get your woman. You worried about the wrong thing. You worried about whether somebody gonna like you or not, which it makes you really no different than a woman.
It's people pleasing. That people pleasing behavior.
So you're really no different than she is, because you're looking for validation instead of standing on principles that you know, right or wrong, because a true man can stand on his own, and you just gonna have to come around and understand the lesson later when he get it. But everybody didn't like our granddaddies. Matter of fact, they couldn't stand their ass when they come, oh shit, here come granddaddy. Because granddaddy wasn't with the bullshit.
It was with the bullshit. Oh.
When he walked in the kitchen right now. So they call that toxic masculinity or whatever, but when I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, so y'all just gonna call masculinity toxic. That's all that is, Jay. So I don't even know what the fuck they saying no more, because how in the fuck you gonna tell me what is good masculinity? It's either masculinity or it's not.
I don't care what they say.
Yeah, they had some term called new masculinity. Motherfucker, ain't no new masculinity.
Bro.
And trust me, masculinity don't want to have no confrontation with old masculinity. Trust me. They don't want.
No.
You understand?
And on top of that, that's why I push back on the narrative that we live, like when people talk about, oh, we live in a patriarchy. No, we don't. Because in a patriarchy, you would never be able to question men.
Oh no, we don't live in a patriarchy. That's just they say, you know, because now I'm not gonna say it wasn't a point in time that it wasn't more patriarchal for European society. We never had that issue though.
Well, this is what I'll say. What is patriarchal about America, right? The government structure is patriarchal.
Yeah.
Science, technology, engineering, and math is patriarchal.
Right.
Wherever the largest concentration of men are, is going to be patriarchal. Where it is matriarchal is the education system, the healthcare industry, social issues, you know, because men control the world, but women influence society.
Exactly.
That's just it. You know, men do not have the level of influence over society that women have.
Man
Period.
can't influence a woman can walk in a room and she gonna influence it different than a man gonna influence it. You feel what I'm saying? Because that's the beauty of their energy. A woman she inspires.
Yep.
One of her gifts is to inspire, right? So you can look at whether she's doing a good job or not based on the results, right?
Mm-hmm.
Inspiring good shit. You're not inspiring good shit. What is being inspired right now? You understand? Look around and you can see, okay, this is what's being inspired. Because if you teach a woman, you teach the nation. You feel me? But what happens if she's not listening? Then you get the results of what you get right now because she's not listening. So eventually the kid's not listening. She's disrespectful. Eventually the kids is disrespectful because everything falls in an order. Everything has an order. You understand what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
when you think about the most basic cause and effect, that's a very basic lesson. We all learned that shit first grade, kindergarten, second grade, cause and effect. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Nothing that you see in today, absolutely nothing should be a surprise.
Nothing is. Everything's happening the way it was. It was gonna happen. Like once you experienced whatever level of disrespect and negative interaction with people, when you were younger, that wasn't going away. Everything that you saw is just going to increase until those people reach a different point in their life and they take ownership of the trail of destruction that they left behind. You know,
it has to be addressed, right?
It has to be addressed, though.
Yeah, if I'm trying to fix a car and I fix everything but the goddamn part that's really the problem. The problem is the damn the tire rod messed up. I done blew up tires. I done changed the oil, all that. I still ain't addressed the tire rod though. The car still ain't finna fucking run. So you have to address it. If you saying that the problem is men, but that's not the problem, how is anything gonna get better? It's only gonna get worse because you never address the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I can't argue that that's the problem because at the end of the day, the men are not making the decisions over the children's lives. The men are typically not making a decision to break up their homes like that. You feel me? So you got to look at the decision making, even down to who I slept with. You know what I mean? Like I can't blame no woman that I slept with. I willingly slept with her. Whatever came from that is what comes from that. You understand what I'm saying? Because I did it. I can't say, well, she put on that skirt and she made me do it. I can't do none of that. You know what I mean? I have to take responsibility for my actions.
Yep. That's the accountability of a woman. If you're blaming her for your choices, right? Like you said earlier, you can't blame a dog for being a dog.
How you gonna blame you at the horse for kicking? You dig what I'm saying? You got the horse.
You can't blame, like I was saying before,
man water wet.
You can't blame women for being women. So that makes you have to take ownership of the woman that you select. Your selection criteria is the only thing that you can blame.
Exactly.
That's you.
That's why I said that earlier. I'm like, you can't even be upset with women for doing the things that they do. They're designed to manipulate the environment for survival.
Yep.
This is about informing those who are not informed, making them more informed. You understand what I'm saying? Because a lot of that information and manipulation happens because this guy just don't know what the fuck going on.
Right.
He thought he was really in love. He didn't know she was in business while he was in love. You feel what I'm saying?
Facts.
So, so you gotta, you have to, it's like you gotta reprogram it now, you know, and the way I look at it, I'm of the first couple of generations where this was considered to be acceptable, this whole single mother home. So I'm of the age where I've been able to go through and process things. I've gone through my rage phase where, you know, you're just pissed off because you can't believe you've been duped like that. You've gone through the phase of, you got to forgive, you got to try to process it. But the worst thing you can do is lie to yourself about it. That's when you need therapy, because you over here lying to yourself. You're trying to make sense of a lie instead of just calling it what it is. Once you call it what it is, you'll realize a lot of the anxiety leaves it. You know what I'm saying? Once you just call a spade, a lot of the apprehension and a lot of the bad feelings, it disappears, because the truth sets you free. Like I said, only the truth gonna set you free. You dig what I'm saying? It's trying to live a lie. You feel? So don't, the one thing that I've learned throughout this whole process, I'm not gonna knock you for going through life experiences, because life happens. But don't try to run that bullshit script on me. You're not a victim. You understand what I'm saying? Don't. The only victims here, the children are the biggest victims, but men are more victims than you are. You understand what I'm saying? He thought, this motherfucker thought he had a family. But at the same time, a man already know this ain't his wife. So what are you doing? You understand what I'm saying? You're moving recklessly. So you have to be more responsible with yourself as well. You carry the seed of life, dog. Do you realize what that means? You carry the seed of life. You playing basketball tomorrow. Guess what's on the court with you? The seed of life. What are you doing when you get up? You just went out to the club, met some broad, and just splashed it on the mattress after 5 minutes of interacting with her. That's what you did with your seed of life, dog.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So you can't just put this on the women. Men, with they, because they love to trick. And the number one rule is you can't get tricked unless you're trying to trick. You was trying to trick her out of some pussy. Look how you ended up.
It tricked you out your balls.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Ain't no free fucks, dog.
Nope. Ain't none.
Such thing as a free fuck. You either paying on the front end or you're paying on the back end, but it ain't no such thing as no free pussy. It's not designed to be.
Yep. And that's why, why I talk about rule number 5 all the time. Men must exercise sexual discipline to be seen as credible leaders and maximize their opportunities,
If a man can learn to control his food appetite and his sexual appetite, it's not much he can't control.
Facts.
You understand? Though, if he can gain self-control, those are two very strong forms of discipline. You understand what I'm saying? If you can control that, you can definitely control yourself. Because a lot of the men don't realize, you got to think, dog, like when you think about both Tupac and DMX both ended up in prison at some point, right?
Yep.
Most guys who end up in prison was emotional before they went.
Yeah.
They couldn't they couldn't keep themselves within themselves to logically think it through, and they got emotional, did something crazy, and that's how they ended up in the joint.
Yep.
So if you wanna fix that, you got to teach somebody has to teach them how to process their emotions.
Yep.
You understand?
And man, look, that part right there, all pivots off of this right here. Like sudden, sexually undisciplined dating decisions ending negatively. And it's a double entendre, because how many times do you make a good decision suddenly?
I don't really. And I don't make a good emotional decision.
Yeah.
I never make good emotional decisions. I always make better decisions when I'm thinking about things logically.
Yeah.
Even if the emotion is good, right? If I like a girl and I really like her, that's not good, dog, because you're gonna overdo it. You finna go wrong somewhere. You gotta try to even. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Man, then all of this stuff is really simple in terms of understanding when you want it. That's why I say, man, I don't give advice to people that don't have their hands raised. If you're trying to knock on their door and tell them about, the givings of Jesus Christ, they're not going to be receptive to you. But if they see what you're talking about and they're saying, you know what, man, you got a point, because I can relate to it. All of this is about what we can relate to and what we pay attention to and what we give, the highest praise to, right? And ultimately, our culture has been suffering from separating entertainment from reality and using entertainment to justify their realities. And they're only giving you the highlights in a few screen grabs and sound bites, no matter where it came from, you know.
Yeah.
But when you're not in front of the whatever audience you got, and you're in front of the people that you're responsible for, and you have to be the human being that they need, what does it look like? So I'm gonna play this next video with another part, keeping in line with DMX and Tupac.
No, man. Hold on. Listen, this is my son right here. I'm talking to him.
Lower your voice. Pump your brakes. Pump your brakes, brother.
Lady.
This is the only thing I want to say. He's not feeling heard by you, X. Let him finish a sentence. Let him finish a sentence. How did it make you feel when you heard and saw those things?
I felt like you were a liar and a hypocrite.
And how did that make you feel about you? Maybe share that so he can understand why your relationship with him, why you didn't talk to him. Because he wants to understand why you didn't talk to him.
You were always, not always, but most of the time, very hostile. And it was always...
Towards you?
No, but just in the house. The way you would talk made me feel like beneath you. Even what you were saying was good.
Just give me an example of how I spoke to you that made you, you know what I'm saying, feel like you were, you know.
I mean, it was years ago.
Just one example. Just one, since I've done it so much. This is such a major
What
part.
about today?
Lady, shut up, man.
No,
I'm talking about, no, listen, man. Listen, man, I'm not going for this.
You don't get, I was talking to Xavier.
Damn, y'all, for real.
I was talking to Xavier. I'm not intimidated by you.
You don't gotta be intimidated, man. Stop running your mouth.
What about today?
I'm not even gonna have this debate, man. And
What about today?
You do that.
And
when you
his
we'll talk.
today.
We'll talk. When she stop running her mouth. Damn it. That's what we'll do, man.
X ain't having it.
I mean, he was trying to sort it out with his son. Give me an example. He was trying to talk it out, and she interfered with that, right? I feel him on that, you know. Let me, because he could have been having.
Yeah, I saw you laughing about that for a second. I saw you laughing about that for a split second.
Well, I mean, I was laughing, you know, but at the end of the day, when I'm looking at the video, for one, you see a grown man who has a son that he's trying to raise, right? But he still ain't sorted through all his goddamn pain, right? So now he looking at this kid who's expressing himself. So he's like, give me an example. But you can see X was losing. His emotion was uneven at the time because it's a heavy subject matter. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're talking about family stuff, that's heavy. Between you, your kids, your wife, you probably already ain't feeling good about it already if you DMX, and now it's facing you. That's not easy for anybody to deal with, man or women. But he didn't say, I didn't see him say, I ain't do that. You lying. Give me an example. You know what I'm saying? Even though it was hard, give me an example. But he's frustrated, which is why he got up and walked out, right? Because let him talk. You know what I mean? On one hand, she telling him he doesn't feel heard. Allow him to feel heard. But like you were saying, X probably don't feel heard.
Never felt heard.
You feel what I'm saying? So you got this 16-year-old that don't feel heard, but you got this 36-year-old that ain't never felt heard. Which one you think need to be heard a little quicker?
Come on, man.
Exactly. So, you know, those things are hurtful because again, they weren't in there with a man therapist, somebody who could understand their emotions. The person who could understand being a son and a father. That would have probably been a better therapy session for them as opposed to another sister, because X already got an issue with his mom. Ayanla probably reminds him of her. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. You went right to where I was thinking, man. You know what I'm saying? That she represents a triggering moment in his life to some degree, because the last woman he had that to tell him what to do and was responsible for his emotional well-being, that should have been doing those roles. He's not seeing that again, unless it's outside of his wife, you know.
Right. Who he don't know how to interact with because he still don't trust his mom.
Correct.
So he don't interact with his wife, and that's the bad part, because you don't know how to interact with your woman. You got issues with your woman because you had issues from where you come from. So your woman might have the best intentions for you, but you don't trust her intentions. You feel me?
Yep. And you got valid reasons, you know what I'm saying, to feel the way that you feel, but it's not conducive to a healthy connection. And then now you've already reproduced children, you know.
Real.
Yep. And you haven't established that level of continuity from emotional exchange at that point. And that's what you see a lot of the times. And that's where it transmutes into failed relationships, poor connection with kids, the level of psychological imprint that goes around it. That's why, like, when you guys that follow my content would see me say, "Hey, man, he acting like he got his mama's last name," I could tell, because that's how that type of behavior gets manifested. You can see it in the words they choose. You can see it in what they choose to be triggered by, you know, and that's why, like, people looked at the angry parts of rap, and when you look at the angry parts of rap, you're only going to have an opinion about what you see and what's being expressed, but you don't know the root of it. And that's why I put this together for a second, right? Y'all follow me around with this: gangster rap, fatherlessness, and the absence of therapy. Just a quick little PowerPoint slideshow. How trauma, neglect, and untreated pain shaped the genre. So an entire genre of music was born from the absence of accountable male presence in the home. Gangster rap is, at its root, the soundtrack of fatherlessness. Now, the reason that this exists is because it's tied directly to this conversation. What equity did the women have in the absence of the father? That's the question that you need to keep in your mind as you read this, because we're only going to deal with the male side of this. The common thread across his archetypes is the same storyline. Daddy wasn't there. Even Tupac was misled by his mother about his father's identity. We already saw a video earlier. For those of you that just joined, you know what I'm saying, I'll probably play the video again just so you can have some context. Without fathers in the home and without access to therapy, men turn their trauma into music. So the lack of ability to be heard, just like we witnessed in that clip with DMX, we watched what a man looks like when he goes unheard all of his life, and then now he has a son that's going unheard, and now they can't even talk. Gangster rap became the therapy session they never had. Instead of counseling, they had the booth. Instead of licensed therapists, they had beats and verses. How many your favorite artists got a song, "I'm talking to my diary," you know, or something to that effect, or, you know, they're doing songs in prayer to some degree. DMX was great at writing songs and performing them in prayer to the Lord, you know. So he talked all the time because that's where he felt most heard and validated. The music didn't come out of two-parent homes. It was birthed from emotional neglect, drug epidemics, and mass incarceration that ripped men from their communities. That I don't know if I can even add anything else to that, but you see what those words are saying, you know, in a snapshot. This isn't some behavior that you have to go travel far to see. You probably know somebody that reflects these words. Go ahead, Keon. What you about to say?
Pretty normalized at this point. It's so normal to the point where they don't even realize dysfunction is dysfunction.
They don't even know that they're wrong.
Exactly.
They don't even know how wrong they are.
It's that normalized, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, a lot of the shit I didn't really realize was fucked up until I got to a certain point in life. You got to get enough wisdom to be able to look around and see. Got to experience other things and see other things to know, oh shit, this has been off.
Yeah, for real.
But at the same time, you get to places like this where you can have those conversations, and these conversations gonna hurt. You know what I mean? I mean, you're gonna have to brace yourself for these conversations, but it's not because of malicious intent. We're just talking about the things that have taken place. So if you can't stand to see them, or you can't stand to hear about them, imagine how it is for us to have to see it and experience it. You can't even stand to hear about it.
Bro, that's so wild, man. Like,
or experience.
How can the conversation be more offensive than the behavior that triggered it?
Well, the
Yeah.
Somebody doing what they want to do, right? So you so proud of what you do. When I tell you what you did, you don't want to hear about it. Now,
Yeah.
you finna hear about it. You know,
you say finna hear about it one way or another.
no, you're gonna have to hear about it because you could have gave me another experience as well. That was your choice. You did have a choice in the matter. You could have gave me a totally different narration about you. I don't have, but what you want me to do is you want me to make shit up. You want me to dance around in fallacy. I don't want to do that. I don't feel that don't make me feel good. You feel what I'm saying? Like when you talk about feelings and what makes you feel safe, it doesn't make me feel safe to have to dance around in your head. You feel what I'm saying? Because I don't know. I really don't know what fantasy is playing up there today, but we can both meet out here in reality. You know what I'm saying? And we can, you know, we can roll from there, but I can't really predict the script that's going on in your head based on how you want to feel about yourself. And it's not necessarily my job to make you feel good. That's what the fuck does that job pay to make a motherfucker feel good all day? You know what I mean? I feel when I just tell the truth about what it is, you know, and I don't give a shit if you walk away. I'm not one of those dudes that's trying to keep you from walking away. You can get the fuck away from me. You understand? If I got to deal with bullshit for you to be close to me, you really can get the fuck away from me because I feel better by myself on some real shit than I do in a group of people on some bullshit. And that's just me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the women I deal with in my life, you know, I don't be pressuring them. I don't press them for shit because they not press me for nothing. You understand what I'm saying? You know, it ain't finna be no pressure. The only thing it can be is we gonna grow together or we not. It's not, you're not finna apply no, you know how they be like, oh, you got to apply pressure. I'm not applying no fucking pressure. When you, because when a flower is growing, do you pull the motherfucker out of the ground or do you just give it the right sun and the right water to allow it to grow right?
Gotta give it its chance.
Right. If I apply pressure to the fucking flower, I'm gonna kill it.
Yep.
You feel me? So, you know, I don't think none of that shit is necessary. So that means even if I'm walking away. As long as I'm standing on real principles, she just gotta walk. I ain't scared to lose. As long as I don't lose me. That's the key. I don't give a fuck about losing you, as long as I don't lose me.
Yeah.
You feel me? So that's just where I stand with the whole thing, you know, but you get beyond because dog, Keisha culture that shit is toxic, G.
Yeah.
That culture, that's a tough thing for her to overcome, fam, because it's so widespread. It's everywhere around her. You can't necessarily blame her for leaning into the shit. What you blame her for is when you bring it to her attention that this is the result of it and she ain't listening. That's where she catches the blame.
Right.
You feel me? But I can't necessarily say I blame her for being lost. Shit, she come from the same place I come from.
Yep.
But don't be, we ain't finna lie about it though. Fuck your feelings. I'm not lying about it. I don't care about how you feel about it. Because all those years of lying didn't make me feel good and really didn't do shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to lie about it no more. I just want to tell the truth. And see, you don't need therapy when you can deal with the truth. You need therapy because your ass having a hard time dealing with the truth.
That's a statement right there in itself.
Because you can't accept the truth. If you can just accept the truth, you don't need no fucking therapy. You need to figure out how to merge the fantasy and reality together, and that's impossible. So you need somebody to talk you through it.
Man, look, put a pin in that note and say that for the end because I want to be able to clip that. You know what I'm saying? I want to get you on the screen and clip that.
We need to talk about that. We definitely talk about that one right there. But yeah, I mean, I've experienced that before. You know, I've experienced therapy in a few different ways. I've gone to therapy, and hell, I met a therapist on a Friday night, and we did some inhumane things, which made me really not trust the whole therapy process. Lady, you can't be mentally healthy enough to be giving nobody no goddamn advice on life, and you interacted with me in such a way. You understand what I'm saying? You don't even know me. I don't know you, but I ain't no therapist. You feel what I'm saying? I ain't no therapist. I ain't out here trying to do that. You feel me? You know, not saying I'm proud of my particular. I'm not necessarily proud of some of the things that I've done in the past.
But no, it's just the experience of being a man and seeing what's real and what's not, or everything's up to be questioned because there's nothing to come protect you. You know what I'm saying? That we don't have the same safety net. So our criticism and critiques is coming from a place of, hey, if I make the wrong choice, it's my fault, no matter what, you know.
And you don't want to make the wrong choice based on misinformation.
Misinformation and how you feel, you know.
That shit is fine. We do need to have a conversation about that though.
Yep.
That's totally different. I think that's a little that goes a little deeper because that's a rabbit hole, and we need Don on that one too.
Yeah, for real.
That's a hell of a rabbit hole to go down. But yeah, I just think people who really just gravitate towards therapy and need, you know, it's like they just have a real hard time with just the truth.
Yeah, I think I go to therapy, right? Well, but I go to therapy to bounce my ideas off of, you know what I'm saying, my therapist.
I think therapy is a good thing.
It's a good thing if you use it the right way.
Utilize it correctly.
But if you go into therapy to have someone put a title on every one of your emotions that you had, and then you get to label yourself as your psychological identity to everybody. Hey, I'm a you know, I'm an attachment this and binary that and all this other whatever. Like, you're using it the wrong way. You're supposed to be having a third party vet your idea.
Man, they be saying some of the weirdest shit. My attachment style in alignment.
Yeah.
All this so goofy shit. You be like, gee, come, it is not this difficult, fam.
No, and it can't be, you know, because
our grandmamas didn't have, you know, our grandmamas had third grade educations and could figure this shit out. Why you can't figure this shit out? You know what I'm saying? This shit not hard. And you know, you know, maybe we need to come up. We got to have another show because we're doing a panel at some point, right?
Yeah. 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. You know, it's certain things that I just don't be understanding. And one of the things I don't understand, how in the hell can you make the lives of children difficult, men difficult, but you deserve such a great fucking life? I don't understand that. That math don't math to me at all.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? So when you get the tragedy of these two gentlemen, because let's keep it real, the talent level that they both had, they should be kicked up in a mansion somewhere, enjoying fresh squeezed orange juice, looking at the family that they built, the whole nine. But they can never get out of their own way because of the pain.
Yep.
And we gonna see a lot of this shit moving forward because you're dealing with harder drugs, you're dealing with stronger pain, you're dealing with more blatant disrespect,
new laws to rope all of this up, you know.
So you finna be dealing with a DMX or a Tupac times 10.
Yep.
That's the danger of where we headed, and that's why it's important for us to have these conversations right here as men, which is why we just got to take the heat for having the conversations.
Yep.
But if we don't have the conversations, it's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be bad because they're gonna say we didn't know, and because the major issue with our generation is that we were raised by boomer parents and they were raised by silent generation parents. So the boomer parents didn't say anything, you know what I'm saying? Because they were taught silence first.
Yeah, the boomer parents just spent every goddamn thing. They were spending everything they got their hands on.
Yeah, they spent, man, as soon as they got it, they put some Jesus on it and then blame some civil rights and stuff. I'm not saying that these things ain't variables in the mix.
Yeah.
However, they can't be the sole variable, the sole reason why we where we got led to, you know. And like now we're like, hey, we know all these things exist. We understand, like, for instance, let me just talk to what's on the screen. Emotional neglect. Go where people respect you. Only talk to people that respect you.
Right.
Or either respect your value or whatever. Until then, keep yourself out of disrespectful situations. You know what I'm saying? If it don't feel right and there's always a joke tied to your name, stay away from it. You know what I'm saying?
Think about what you said now. You said stay away from disrespectful situations, right? How in the hell do you stay away from something you're born into?
And that right there is the wake up call. Once you have to sit back, and when did you realize that you was in a disrespectful situation? That's the best question right there, because see, you've woken up from your journey, right, and into the circumstance that you was born into.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, when you don't know that you're in a disrespectful situation, how do you wake up from it? So this is the point of why you up here.
Life. You don't know. It's almost like Stockholm syndrome. You have no idea you're going down the wrong path, right? And then you start to discover through questioning, right? You know what I mean? As you get older, of course, wisdom is supposed to kick in, right?
Mm-hmm.
You start asking questions. If you grow up a particular kind of way, at some point you'll have questions as to why you grew up that way. When you start asking these questions based on the responses, that's going to make you raise an eyebrow, because if somebody is angry with you for having the questions, it's something to investigate further, because you're just asking a question, right? So once that anger started coming my way based on asking these questions, naturally, now you want to ask more questions, because first of all, why the fuck are you mad at me?
Yeah.
Questions. And then there's going to be a lash out. But see, I was very fortunate that I had a good stepfather. And that's why sometimes the whole stepfather thing throws me, because I've had some really good guys step in and try to help me out, right? But this man told me, he said, look, it's going to take you a while to reel from this one. He said, because when you believe somebody to be something all your life, and all of a sudden you wake up and you discover something else, that's a hell of a blow. But he also told me, process it. Whatever you're feeling, just feel it, but don't act on the feelings. Just feel it and allow yourself to process the whole thing. But I'm going to keep it 100 with you. As good as this guy was in my life, right? The stepfather. I remember him as a kid. You know what I said to myself? I don't never want to be like him. Now, he was helping me. But I knew as a kid, I didn't never want to be like that, because I would see how he would be disrespected, how he would be disregarded, how he would be spoken to. And to be honest with you, if you're not the parent and you're helping someone raise their child, that's probably the most angelic goddamn job you can do on the earth.
Whew.
In my opinion.
Yeah, because you don't have to at all.
If there is you earn some extra credit job on this goddamn planet, if there is you earned a meal from scratch job, motherfucking planet, that has to be it. If a woman helping this man raise his kid, that she just might deserve that damn foot rub now. You understand? Yep. She might have earned that. You probably owe her that, right? But we've gotten so far away from it. It's like, they be acting like they doing you a favor, coming with nothing but bills. God damn it, baby, that's all you is a big ass bill. I don't care what you make for a living. If you got 3 children and you make $170,000 a year as the mom, right?
Yeah.
You still in the red.
Yep.
You still in the red, and you make $170,000 a year. You're in you're not even in the black. That's how deep that shit go. You know what I'm saying? So since I was a child that grew up like that, that's not a subject matter I like to play with. That's why I don't even play with kids. When it comes to, if I am kicking it with somebody who has a child, I'm very respectful to that child. And no matter what that mom says, I'm not jumping in that child's face like I'm their father. Right. If I'm with the child, I'll go tell the mom. And that's a slight problem, because if I have too big of a problem, I'm gone. It ain't my goddamn problem to have. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not finna disrespect that child, because where's that child's father? That's the only person that's the only man supposed to be standing in their face giving orders.
It's like having a car and you got too many different mechanics working on it.
Yeah, and yeah, that's why I don't, Daddy, I'm not finna disrespect another man unless I had a conversation. Like, I'm not even finna get that deep with the mom if I ain't had a conversation with the father, period.
Yeah.
I'm not even getting, because those are his children. I need to make sure me and him on the same page, because that shit can get very dangerous. So because I was a kid that grew up in it, I just have different viewpoints on it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't, it's just like having sex, right? It's like a man who's not used to having sex gets excited at the thought of this shit. The man where sex is plentiful, it's like, yeah, okay, you know, I'm finna go take a nap, goddammit, I don't care. It's like everything else. The person who has no money is thirsty for money. The person who has plenty of money don't even think about money the same way. So now that I've gone through my rage phase and you've gone through and processed, and you know, now you just want to help the younger dudes because you understand where they are because you were once there. You just want them to be more aware of who they are. You don't want to talk down on no women. You just want him to understand who he is.
Yep.
Then he can make a better decision about his life and what it means if you have a child with the wrong woman, or if you have a child too young, or if you have a child and you're not financially prepared and you don't have a family structure for that child. Men need to understand that. He needs to understand that he holds the seed of life in him. So he's much more valuable, dog. What's in your sack is way more valuable than going to have too much Hennessy and just getting with whoever. You dig what I'm saying? You don't want to just put that in there because, you know, that can determine your future right there. You know what I'm saying? And then you don't even want to, as a man, you don't even want to mix spirits with the wrong one. To hell with whether you can get it or not. You don't even want to mix spirit. If you know something, you don't even want to mix spirits. You understand what I'm saying?
It's witchcraft. It's witchcraft to be sexually engaged with the wrong person, man.
You don't want that on your jaw, man.
No, you don't want that on you, man. Look, so shout out to my man Troy Reddick, and his comment coupled with what you were saying about the step parents, and then the music not coming out of 2-parent homes and mass incarceration that ripped men from their communities. His comment is about the 80s, where a bunch of illegitimate children raising their first kids. So imagine later on in the 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mass incarceration is in full swing by this time, before they even gave it a name.
Right.
All of the men have been removed from their fatherly roles in their homes, right? So their children are uncovered. Then you got the stepdaddies that pulled up, that took care of your generation and my generation. You know what I'm saying? Even though I had my dad, you had a stepdad journey, right? As a child. He might have came from this generation of single mothers that didn't even tell their children that they loved them. And then he's looking for love, validation, and he sees, you know what I'm saying, that level of importance in your generation right here. And only thing he could do is impart wisdom on the kids, because it's a noble thing to still impart wisdom even when you're not being fulfilled in certain areas, you know.
You're going to teach.
You're still going to teach no matter what.
You know what I mean? You're going to teach. That's part of what you do.
Yep.
If you're a man and you're not trying to teach your woman, you're not a man. That's naturally what you're going to do. You know what I mean? But you know, you're right. I ran into a situation where the stepfather I had lost his only son. So void. Damn. You feel what I'm saying? So it just kind of worked because it was a void there. But there was still some there was a lot of struggle in that, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's not a natural connection. You feel what I'm saying? That's why I respect it so much, because it's like, damn, that's a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I look at it now, it's like, you might well go ask a man, what condo do you want? I'll pay the note.
Yeah, come on, man.
What Bentley, what car would you like? And I'll pay the insurance. And that's what that's equivalent to, whether they want to say it or not.
Whether they want to say it or not, right?
You basically taking care of something. Like, it's like, dog, I did not lay down and make that. And we used to have a term, you make your bed, you lay in it. That's what we need to get back to on both ends. You You make your bed, you lay in it. I don't think the stepmother, stepfather concept is fucked up. I think what it has turned into is fucked up. To take somebody for granted, to make that the regularly scheduled program. Like we finna have kids by this set, but we gonna go over here and make this set raise them. Nah, that's where the dysfunction come in. You understand? Yeah.
It is what it is it's matriarchal welfare, because they believe that they can make a baby with a man over here and just go get any other man that they want, you know what I'm saying, that be a father figure. They don't even want the dad. They want a father figure for their kid.
It's the ultimate power play, though. Because she's in complete control under that particular regime.
Yep.
He can't tell her nothing about the children, but he's taking care of her. So she's financially benefiting, and she's in total control of the children. That's all a control play, because she cannot be that thing that she could be with the stepfather next to the real father. It's impossible.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? So for that to become that, the stepfather, stepmother thing was supposed to be the rarity that happens when something goes to the left. It's not supposed to be the fucking factory assembly line like it's the rarity is marriage. Like the rarity is the kid growing up with his father in the house, biological father in the house. And you know what I'm saying? That's not how that's supposed to go. So that's where the whole imbalance has taken place. And how you a man if you ain't fighting against that?
For real. Because like truthfully,
yourself a man and you not standing up for nothing other than getting your dick wet. Come on, that don't even make sense, fam. That's all you know for.
Bro, it's so real, because that's what the fight is now. Like this is the main thing. Like co-parenting and step parents should not be the norm.
Co-parenting is failure. Step parents is failure. You gotta ride your wave out, fam. You gotta ride your wave.
Yep. And like it's Troy again with another set of words that keep the conversation hot. The stepfather is the foundation of those who see themselves so-called getting it out the mud. And I can't really, like, again, that's something that I can't speak on, you know what I'm saying? But let me tell you what I've observed.
What's that?
When I was in the military, the majority of people that would join were either coming from single parent homes that was either one decision away from being in the street or locked up. And they, you know what I'm saying, they made a different decision, you know what I'm saying, to join and get some training and become better people.
They were presented with a ultimatum. You either going to school, you're going to military, you're getting a job, right?
It's either military, jail, or hell. You know what I'm saying? So most
I couldn't get you into a man, so I got to send you somewhere where they can. That's all it is. And you sending them to the system you swear you hate. They fathers can't do it.
They fathers can't do it.
They grandfathers can't do it. They uncles can't do it. You gonna send them over there.
Yep. And the truth is that the more we frame this stepfather conversation, you know what I'm saying? Because you know, I got my little internet moniker called the internet stepdaddy. Is because at some point there's gonna be a man in uniform to correct your behavior.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, think about this. If I'm daddy government, I done section date you, I done fed you, gave you SNAP benefits. Wouldn't it make sense that I finished raising you in my military?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You really my kid.
Yep. The government is set up in the ultimate stepdaddy position with all the leverage.
Right. So I'm not supposed to be offended by
that. you supposed to be.
Real talk. Like so wait a minute. I'm not supposed to be offended. And I'm talking about like that's not supposed to be offensive to me.
Yeah, come on now.
You understand what I'm saying? Like that, and see, that's why I know we're gonna have a lot of these conversations, because you can revisit it from so many different areas. We can talk about Puffy.
Man, come on.
Same goddamn conversation. Puffy ain't DMX or Tupac, but we can have this same conversation in regards to Puffy.
Because he's raised the same way, because he's raised by his mother. His daddy was a hustler, you know what I'm saying, behind some other.
Exactly. So,
Yep.
man, look, we gonna have to put a pin in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Have to go deeper into this subject because this has spawned another one, to be honest with you, right?
Yeah, that's how it happens, man.
I got some other shit I'm thinking about, right? So we're gonna get together through the week and figure out how to part two this trend. We gotta put our panel together too.
Yeah. This definitely gonna be a part two. Let me get through the rest of these slides, and then you know, because each one of them gonna have something else, and like so, you know, the notes that get taken off of this just definitely gonna create another conversation. Because and shout out to Jonah Mills. He said he had to get missing for a second. He been riding with us over on YouTube or whatever. Appreciate the engagement, man. I'm glad you're enjoying the content.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and you know, I want to be able to shout people out. Hey, man, y'all can warm that super chat up too if you want to. You know, don't be shy if you get something from it. You know what I'm saying? Put something in that collection plate. All right, but let me go and go to the next one. Without fathers to guide them and without therapists to help them process, these artists built a culture where vulnerability was masked by aggression and pain was disguised as bravado. Gangster rap accelerated cycles of poverty for those who also lacked masculine guidance and access to healing. And what I meant by that, accelerated cycles of poverty, is that the inability to control your emotions that got you locked up or removed out of your home in some degree, you accelerated the poverty in your home because you took your earning potential away from it and gave it to the judicial system in the form of fines and time. Amen. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. You know, people all the time talk about the prison industrial complex is so corrupt and everything else. You know how you want to bankrupt it? Just don't go to prison.
Well, yeah.
But
if you really like the police, you wouldn't give them the job. You wouldn't give them the work.
Yeah, if you like women enough, you won't do things to put yourself in position to remove yourself from the access to women either.
But this is the crazy part. Being in their presence is how your ass end up back there sometimes.
Which is why the sexual discipline piece that we talk about all the time is why you have to develop better choosing criteria. You're messing with the wrong people, you know what I'm saying, in a lot of the cases in general, right? But like if you think about it this way, right? If you add discipline to anything, it gets better. There's nothing that you add discipline to that gets worse. So if you add discipline to something and your situation gets worse, you're probably already in the wrong situation to begin with. Then that comes down to the people that you congregate with, copulate with, drink with, socialize with, whatever terminology you want to use. If the minute that you try to administer correction, order, structure, and discipline to something and your situation gets dangerous, you're with the wrong people. Because if you're coming from a righteous place and you're not out to hurt anybody, you're looking to take care of the people that you believe you're responsible for and believe that they honor your commitment, then they will take your word and say, you know what, you're right. Let me just do what you tell me to do. You know what I'm saying? Because if they're going to blame it, because especially when you're prone to getting blamed when you're not there, man, if you would have been there, this wouldn't have happened. Well, that means you need to listen to me while I'm here.
But thing, I gotta blame something or somebody, right? I gotta blame something other than me, right?
Yep. So, but these are the blames that have been deflected off of, you know, the individuals in the situation. You know what I'm saying? They just want to blame in abstract. It's like blaming society is not good enough because people make up society and people of certain genders make up society. So it's either a woman caused it or a man caused it, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Or a woman reacted to something that a man caused. So we need to stop trying to have these faceless blame games because they're not helping us, you know, which goes back to what you were saying previously. And
just the whole lies, man. It's like, man,
take the lies off of it, name it so you can change it, man.
Only thing lies doing is making her feel good. It's getting nobody nowhere. It just makes her feel better about her. It's not helping nobody else.
Yep.
Not even ultimately.
Yep, for real.
It's just helping her feelings at the time so she can use just another hit of dopamine. But, you know, that's why I ain't got nothing for it. I ain't got nothing for it.
Mm-hmm. Listen closely. Your favorite artists describe their mothers struggling, their fathers missing, their pain untreated. Their lyrics are confessionals, repeating the cycle of their lives in ways that their fans instantly relate to.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like, what do you want to say about that one right there?
I mean, it's the truth. I mean, like I said, you can look at somebody like R. Kelly and see where you you can see Chris Brown. It's so many different directions that you can look at and see the same shit. Why is Chris Brown not looked at favorably in the public right now? It's not because of his talent. It's because when he was 19, he had an emotional outburst. He reacted, and they still mad at him 20 years later. R. Kelly, why is he where he is?
Abused by his aunts.
You feel me? So you're talking about something that if you don't deal with it, it just grows and gets worse.
Yep.
I'm fortunate in the area in which I didn't get affected like so many where I'm from, but I definitely still got my scars in ways that they're not scarred in this particular way. So when I'm talking about it, I ain't talking about it from the perspective of trying to be, like I said, disrespectful or malicious. I'm talking from the experience. Experience is the best teacher. And they got this term of what do they say? Don't minimize my experience. So it's some shit they say.
It's something dismissive.
Yeah, it's something dismissive. But as soon as you talk about your experience of them, it's just not dismissive, right?
Yeah.
So the whole we need to stifle these men and shut them up. First of all, there's no such thing as stifling men. Men are only gonna get louder.
Yeah.
Please understand that the benefits that you do have, the powers that you do have, men gave them to you.
The grace of men. I talk about it all the time.
Real power to be taken, and you can't take it from them. So you have to understand that what we're describing is the misuse of power. That's what we're talking about. You overdid it. But at the same time, I mean, when you think about it, dog, I mean, this is how God designed it. And, the audacity of a person looking at God's design saying, oh, no, this is not how it should be. This is, if they'll do that to God, dog, you just a man, fam. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all we are, men, right?
Mm-hmm.
This person has the audacity to look at God and try to correct what God did. That's not necessarily something we don't necessarily try to do that. You know what I'm saying? We're not saying we ain't egotistical, because we can be. Don't get me wrong, but
not in that way.
Yeah,
we ain't that disrespectful collectively.
That's a level of disrespect that I don't understand, which is why I don't even get mad at them now, dog. It's like I look at cop cam shows, I see them getting crazy with them, so I'm like, I ain't taking none of this shit personal no more, right?
Yep.
All I want to do is better navigate the treacherous waters. That's it.
Yep.
I'm a surfer. I'm not finna barely swim in it. I'm not finna be drowning. I'm gonna surfboard on this shit. But that's about staying in the waters. You know what I'm saying? I'm not meant to drown. I'm not meant to be conquered. I'm not meant to be none of that shit. That's not saying that I can't be lost, because, of course you could be lost, but whatever y'all might have thought was gonna take place ain't gonna take place, because nature is undefeated.
Facts.
Nature's never been defeated, so you can't reprogram nature. Eventually, even if it's lost for a while, it'll return to nature. But in order for her to return to her nature, we must first return to ours, period.
Yep. And we had to take back power in order to assert that the right way.
And it starts with conversations, period.
And the other thing is, too, it's not even take your power back. It's assert yourself.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people say we need to pass new laws. No, we just need to enforce the laws that's already there. You know what I'm saying? And be consistent with it and not give passes.
Did you hear about the story of the dog that was raised around cats and acted like a cat?
No, tell it though.
It was a puppy that was taken in by a group of cats. Well, eventually the puppy, because it was around a bunch of cats, started acting like a cat. The dog didn't really realize it was a dog. That's what we're dealing with right now in the Black community. The boy does not really understand what he is because there's been an intentional redirect. But he's rediscovering who he is because nature is undefeated, and that's all you see. That's why you're describing it as a war, because as he discovers this information, he's implementing this information because men gravitate and change based on new information. They don't necessarily stick to ideas. So what you're seeing is not necessarily a gender war, and it's not a hate towards women. What you're seeing is he is learning who he is, and he's falling in love with that, and he's loving the power of being assertive in areas which he should be assertive. He doesn't like being passive. That's not his nature, so he doesn't even understand why he's passive. So the whole cat dog thing was the same thing. That's really all you're seeing. The boy is being raised around a pack of girls, and he's taking on those characteristics. Throw him in that pack of boys and see if he don't gravitate toward that rah-rah and camaraderie once he gets around it. And on that note, I'm gonna land my plane for the heave.
Man, look, that's it in that regard, man. It's like you can't act better than your environment. You can't act better than what you've been taught until you choose to leave. And typically when you recognize that this isn't for you, you leave. Every story that occupied, Black dialogue over pop culture in the last 30 years was centered around movies depicting life in urban Black upbringings where they had the color purple, you know what I'm saying? The Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood,
All things shaped us, bro.
Mm-hmm.
It was all given to us on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the things that we didn't have any ownership of. The only thing that we owned was our reaction to it, and that was based on the information that we had. And we got too much information now to be subscribed to ignorance. Intentionally, willful ignorance. And like even in this last statement, gangster rap is proof of what happens when fatherlessness meets silence. When men were left without fathers, without therapy, and with only a microphone to make sense of their pain. And that's why, like, this podcasting, dialogue, this wave of information that's being shared from experiences from multiple men from everywhere is so important, because everybody's bringing their experiences to the conversation and saying, hey, this is what happened, and we could tell the men that's hurt. We could tell the men that haven't gotten over their situation yet, because they're being catty and competitive, just like women. Like taking one man's opinion and treating that as an invitation to be a personal antagonist, when you could just talk about the facts. Men don't argue. Men might have a prolonged deliberation on a topic from different perspectives. We may have disagreements about which direction we should choose to go in, maybe prioritization of what, but like we talking about the difference between masculine men and men that are not masculine.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever the non-masculine men want to call themselves, that's their business. But if they don't fit into what we're doing, they get to define whatever is masculine for them. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the point. Because like, I'm not trying to create any unnecessary conflict that we don't already have. It's too many people waking up from their own delusions, from their own dramas and everything else, and the stuff that they caused and the things that happened to them. No need to compound it with anything else. That's why I don't call myself red pill. I don't consider myself to be part of the manosphere. I'm just a man that has an opinion, got some questions, and wants to interview and talk to men with that fit what I've identified as, a necessary point of contention. So that's what Accountable Masculinity University is about. You know what I'm saying? Bring the men that have the tangible experience to this platform and let them talk so that the women can hear what they do to their sons. What 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 men have survived from dealing with women, because we've heard for 50, 60, over 100 years about women's uh, uh, advocacy rooted in the relationships that they've had, the abuse that they've endured, and everything associated with that. And all that has not helped men like at all, because there's a bunch of men that dealt with the same thing from those particular women. And they get the pass of saying, hey, I treated you bad because somebody else treated me bad.
Now, I think a lot of those wounds are self-inflicted.
Yep.
Don't shoot yourself in the foot and come to me talking about how your foot hurt. That's what you decided to do. You know what I mean?
You made me shoot myself in the foot.
Yeah, I've done that. I've been at the stage where it's like you going back and forth in regards to information, and then you realize you ain't got to go back and forth about the truth.
You don't.
Ain't no back and forth about it, you know. And like you said, men want to research and know what they talking about typically before they start talking. They're not just going to start running off at the mouth, right? And another thing about men is if I'm wrong about something, you come to me and you show me where I was wrong, I probably ain't got no more argument about the shit. There ain't no more debate. You just showed me where you was right. Right. So I'm just foolish trying to argue something that you done already showed and proved to me. Right.
Yeah.
I think us as men have a tendency to just concede to what's right versus having a need to be right.
We submit to higher information first
Yeah,
because we going to jail.
That's just part of your makeup. So
you're going to jail, and you're going to deal with threats on your personal safety a lot differently. Mm-hmm. There's always a low level threat of violence around men.
Always.
There's always some. We're scanning for threat because we do not believe that we can roam this earth without something potentially happening to you that can be tragic and remove you from tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? We understand that, you know, when it comes down to the work we have to do, because you could die at work, bro. Mm-hmm. Most women do not have jobs where they could die at work.
Right.
And most men that want the best benefits and the highest pay have to do the most dangerous work unless they create something. But generally speaking, a man's life is you have to give your body up to labor.
Yeah.
Until you have enough experience, enough information and education to do less labor, less laborious jobs and get paid for what you know.
Right.
And your experience. You know what I'm saying? Once you understand how to package your experience into a brand, that's why most men have to become a brand in order to maximize everything about themselves. Like, and you can't make your brand your pain. It could be a graduation step. This is me personally talking, you know what I'm saying? It's got to be a form of graduation, you know, because we're responsible for the inspiration that men are supposed to, you know, see and grasp, because there's no woman that most men want to be like. Most men do not want to be, you know, like a woman in terms of like whatever her success story is. You know what I'm saying? I want to be just like Oprah, you know, even if men don't know their daddies, they still don't want to be like their mamas.
Dog, I don't even know a man with a dream job. Not to cut you off, but you know how you be like, oh, this is my dream job. I ain't never.
That's a woman thing. That ain't no dream job for no man. I don't know. Yeah, like even if a man don't know his daddy, he don't want to be like his mama.
That's why they gravitate toward each other at the age of 13, 14, 15 on a street corner, because they looking for something to be like.
Yep.
That's why I know the majority of the shit that the Black community complain about modern day is all based on one thing. The kid is like his mother, but in prophecy it say everything must return to the father.
Come on.
Everything must be reborn through the Father.
Yep. Come on.
You
Come
understand?
on.
That's why you have so much chaos going on, because the Father is a very important entity. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, most of us come from the nut-sacks of our fathers.
All of us do.
So,
Every
to say
human
person is not important in the home, you shot yourself in the foot. Don't cry about not having nothing built for you. Don't cry about life being hard. None of that, because the most important ingredient that you needed, you decided you didn't want because it came with discipline and order. And that got in the way of hot girl summer. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Get it how you want to do it. These are the results. Now we're just speaking about the results. I'm the result of that decision. I'm the result of feminism. You want more of me walking around? Because, see, I'm mild. The ones coming behind me, nothing to play with. I'm one of the ones who can think it through. A lot of these cats, they can't. And it's not up to the men to come back and clean up the community. He left the community because it wasn't his. So it's your community now. Deal with what you created. And we got to push reset on our end, but that's the beauty of being a man. You can't push reset.
Got no choice.
You can't reset, you know what I mean? So, you know. But I gotta go get to work.
Yeah. It's time.
Because like you say, man got to work, god damn it.
Yo, I appreciate you taking the time to come bless the platform, you know.
Having me, always, you know, and I'm looking forward to more, man. These are like therapy sessions, you know what I'm saying? Because men sharpen men like steel sharpen steel, you know what I mean? I'm looking at some of the comments, you know, it's more people who understand where we coming from and what we talking about. And that's all this shit is about. This ain't about knocking women. This is about helping to build men. That's all this shit is about, bro. And she needs a better man too. So she wants us to help build each other. That's what she wants. She might not know she wants it, but that's what she wants. You know, so we just going in our direction, you know. We just doing what it is we supposed to do, and that's having the conversations.
Yes, sir.
And I'm thankful that even though you didn't necessarily grow up like me, you were able to observe and see. So that means you give a shit. You understand what I'm saying? You understand how this affects your environment. But a lot of times when it ain't affecting people, hell, they don't give a shit what's going on because it ain't affecting them. But this affects everybody. This affects all the inner cities. This affects all the neighborhoods. You see what they just did in DC?
Yeah. And that's
what they're talking about doing in Chicago. This all stems from one decision. They don't need any discipline. Okay, like you said, a man in uniform finna have to discipline you now.
Come on, man.
You feel me? You just said the shit, you know what I mean? So now everybody crying about the National Guard being deployed. Why they being deployed? You didn't keep them in line, so now I got to do it. But it's finna come with some consequences with me doing it. You dig what I'm saying? But you have plenty of opportunity to fix this. Even when you look at the number of jobs that have been lost, when you start looking at all the ramifications that are beginning to happen, it's not necessarily different for us. It's always been hard for us. It's going to be a little difficult for them.
Yeah.
You feel me? Because once you've done what I needed you to do, I don't need you no more. So you don't get the perks you used to get. But that's a different conversation for a different podcast on a different day, because that's a whole nother rabbit hole right there.
Oh, absolutely, man. You look, it's a platform where you can come talk about it, man. You know, we will be in contact with each other, and we will definitely come up with some other topics and angles that this conversation produced, you know. So, hey, man, glad to have you, bro. I'm gonna get ready to close the show out.
No doubt. You know, before I get out of here, we having a panel every month, end of the month. We have a panel. If y'all want to jump on, get in, y'all want to discuss, reach out to my man V, reach out to my man Don, reach out to myself. We'll organize it, because everybody opinion count. I don't know everything. My man V don't know everything. So we gonna learn when y'all coming in. We learn looking at the comments and shit. You dig what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on, bro. I appreciate y'all taking the time to listen to whatever avenue y'all listening and shit. I'll see y'all again next week.
Man, we'll see you, bro.
No doubt, fam. Love.
Love.